Yo, what's up, man?
Yo, Asmon, hello.
How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, well, yeah, I was having fun. I was playing Dark Souls, and then suddenly I wasn't playing Dark Souls.
Which Dark Souls are you playing?
It's in one. I've never played Dark Souls before in my entire life.
Oh
so,
my god.
it's the first.
Well, you know.
Do you know what? Hey, I two-shot Smaug and that guy. I two-shot him.
I'm gonna be honest. That is impressive. Smaug and Ornstein. Yeah, in Orlando, that is impressive. Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah. It was pretty good. Yeah, I was surprised.
So you're liking the game?
Molding. Yeah, the game's actually insane, and I'm really looking forward to. Obviously, I'm going to make a video about it and stuff like that because of this whole situation. You know, my goal is to distance myself with Ashes because of the whole situation.
So how'd this start? Because it seems like I'm sure you probably did. You see my reaction to your video and everything?
No, I didn't get around to it yet.
Okay.
But I got the TLDR. Apparently,
sure.
So apparently, you were. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing, and I've got it from a bunch of Twitch chat aroundies. You were like disagreeing with the video, but then apparently your comment section was actually agreeing with me.
Yeah,
in the video.
A lot of people actually agreed with you in the comment section. A lot of the chatters did, and commenters.
So the thing is, if anyone who's actually played the game, knows the truth, right? Because they've been to the desert, they know the state of the desert.
Well, how do you reconcile that with people like Pirate Software who have played the game a lot, who show that that's not the case?
I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea what's going through Pirate's head.
Okay.
Because I don't know what he sees in the video game. I'll say to him though, he really likes the video game. And it's likely because he thinks the video game's going to be like EVE Online. I don't really think the game's going to be like EVE Online.
Okay.
I think it's trying to be more like Lineage or Arcade, not Lineage.
I will say though, the colors sure are a lot nicer, but that's like a very minor detail. They've fixed the lighting a lot in the last few months. They still have a lot of work to do though.
Not EVE. So
yeah, I know Steven played a lot of Lineage before this and Arcade as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so like Pirate's, his perception of the video game, I feel like is Pirate wants it to be one thing, which I just don't think it is, and it's never tried to be that. But then there's this other group who want it to be like classic WoW. Then there's the group who want it to be like Lineage. So there's factions within the game's community who want it to be in different ways.
I think that's a huge problem for like every MMO, because every MMO is going to have like a faction of people that want it to be a hardcore PvP, or they want it to be a theme park, or they want it to be an MMO, or they want it to have roguelike features.
I don't know what Pirate Software server is ever going to look like. It's such a weird way to play the game. So yeah, like what they're saying is Pirate wants it to be like EVE Online. Basically, Pirate Software has like a 10,000 person plus guild, and everyone in his guild is working together, and they have like 50 different like in-game guilds all coordinated. It's just a one guild server. It's so weird. Like on EVE Online, you can do that because the game is structured very differently, and there can be other 10,009 guilds, right? And Ashes just doesn't have the land space for that. Even though Ashes is going to be gigantic, someone of Pirate size can literally take over the server, which is very hard to find. Like, I doubt there's going to be many servers like that where there could be one-man servers, but Pirate can definitely do it. I would never want to play on that server because that sounds boring since there's literally no competition for anything. It's just, hey, we're just going to build a server where we're all cooperative. But then what's the end game, right? It feels like, well, we're just going to make a server where everybody just gets everything. Like, why though? I don't know. It's not for me. But hey, if that's what Pirate wants to do, that's pretty cool. And maybe it will happen down the line that in Pirate's server, parts of his guild will break off, try to form their own guilds that fight back, right? Like, things could happen. I could see some fun there happening as well in that sense. So, time will tell, right? But in general, the Pirate case is kind of unique.
But it's impossible to manage all of those expectations, sure.
Yeah.
But I think Pirate Software looked at, for example, like the desert, and I think that was really the main point of contention that a lot of people are bringing up.
Yeah.
Is that
okay? Yeah. So the desert's currently in two sections. There is an old section of the desert, the thing that you've got up on your stream at the moment, the current state, this section of the desert that looks quote unquote complete. This isn't complete. This is just a bare bones, empty area that's had trees placed around it. The grass, you can even see the grass in this screenshot right now is not rendering correctly because the grass doesn't render correctly in this area. This is an unfinished area. It's got 0 points of interest. It's got 0 dungeons. All it's got is random mobs and random trees placed all around it. I made a whole video showing this segment of the desert in phase 1. I flew around this and I made a bet with Steven and said, you know what? If the desert exists, I'll cut my beard off. And guess what? I flew around this section and I was like, yeah, do you know what? The desert exists. I'll shave my beard off.
Oh, that's a lot.
And I fucking look like a thumb. I look like a thumb for, what was it, 2-3 weeks?
So then what changed?
So what changed was when phase 2 launched, they advertised phase 2 with a $110 price tag, having an expansion to the desert. So that, and I stated this explicitly in the video, it's all about the expansion. The expansion to the desert
Did you
is what I
say that
showed.
in the video? I don't remember you saying that because like, so, and this is the impression that I got. Well, you can see like, so like when I watched the video that you did, the impression that I got from the video is that
this is the desert.
You were showing the desert and there was like nothing in the desert at all.
Exactly.
Like all of the images that you showed you, and it looks like if you look at your mini map, you're basically on the edge of the map.
Anybody who watched Narc's video was basically like, oh my god, wait, this is what they delivered for the desert? This is all there is? This is a scam. Narc didn't show anything that looked like this. He basically painted a picture where he said, this is what they promised, and this is what they delivered, right? That was the bullshit part.
That the things that were advertised in the demo from 2 years ago were not present in the alpha. Is that correct?
Yep.
Is that true?
Yep. And I would say, yeah, I'd stand by that. That's true. These things do not exist.
So if I look at it and I see the things that were shown in alpha in like this demo from 2 years ago, and then
sure,
I look at the video that Steven's showing right now of the desert.
Same trees, same cactuses.
I feel like these two things are pretty congruent. Like,
right. What things would you say that exist from both those trailer from 2 years ago and and what Steven's showing? What would you say exists, quote unquote, exists? Is it the trees?
Well, yeah, the developed landscape that they showed in the trailer.
Okay.
And also,
same tree, same cactus. I mean, rocks are rocks.
And you're contrasting that because you making the comparison in your video that the comparison is actually it's this empty desert. Because that's what you're comparing it with. But if you look at the video itself.
What's the drama? Narc made a video basically saying, like you can see this part, like he was saying like, this is what we were promised. It's hard to find out. Like, we were promised this and we got this. But it's not true. We got all of this. He went basically to the edge of the world, found an empty area, and it's like, yeah, we don't have anything. The desert is empty.
Deserts and snowfields are easy to make because you can get away with minimal terrain features, but that desert just has nothing.
I mean, that part of the desert at the edge of the map has nothing. But that's because that's the edge of the map. They're going to expand into it, right? This part, like right here, has a lot, at least in terms of terrain. Now, there's really not much to do in the desert. At least there wasn't in phase 1. But that's okay. Phase 2 is going to last for a few more months. They're going to add stuff.
And you see inside of the game, it does seem like that's what the game looks like.
I agree that the rocks exist. The rocks exist and the trees exist.
But do you see how if you do that and then you show this image of a completely like unfinished area, it's going to give people the impression that the entire desert is also unfinished?
Correct.
Well, you've got to use the context that you got to acknowledge the context that I've already made a 20-minute video showing off this section of the desert that Steven's currently showing.
No. You can't say in a previous video I did that, and then say, well, in this video I didn't mention it. Because not everyone saw your previous video, right? Your previous video has what, maybe like 15K views, and this one has probably like 80 plus K views. You can't go, oh, but in a previous video I did clarify this. It's bullshit, dude. Like this was mostly just to, like, you know, get shit on Steven. You can't do that.
So that
I've already done this.
Okay, that's fine. So what you're saying is that inside of this video, though, that context doesn't exist.
Correct.
Because, like, if there's a previous video where you've explained it, okay, so then you can see why people would be confused, right?
Yeah, I would assume that I don't.
It's 150K views now, Jesus.
Reach a very wide audience, right? My audience has been the same 10,000 people for, again, 3 fucking years covering this game.
Yeah.
So when I make videos, I always assume that people have seen the previous videos.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you know, when I release a thing, I reference the things that I said in the last video because it's always a continuation of when.
Yeah, nothing was referenced here though. It was basically him going from one to the other, like laughing about it. I thought it was a really good joke, by the way. I said this before. I thought him using this as the look at the desert that we got and look at the picture we were promised. I thought it was a good joke for Twitch. Like for Twitch itself, I thought that joke was pretty funny because everyone on Twitch, on your channel, literally knows you're making a joke. But I didn't think it was good for YouTube.
And I'm covering the video game. So anyone who's interested in Ashes of Creation have already seen that previous Desert Expansion video because I don't really reach an audience outside of my own 10 to 20K people.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. That's fine if you want to do that. But I think when you do have a video that does get popular, right? I mean, and I'm sure you would have expected this one to get popular.
Is it popular? I've not checked.
I mean, it's got 130,000 views. That's really good.
Oh, shit.
I mean, it popped off. Yeah.
I'm gonna put some fucking ads on that one.
Yeah, me too. And so the point is, like, so if I just watched that video, which is what I did.
Did he really say, did it get popular? I didn't know that. I didn't check. What? I find that hard to believe, dude. There's no way. He's actually getting on Asmon's stream to talk about it. There's Steven reacting to it. Oh, well, really? People watch the video? Does it really have more than 10K views? Get out of here, bro. Stop the bullshit. Get out of here. I didn't know the video. Yeah, sure. I'm sure you didn't know, but you knew that Asmongold was reacting to it and wants to talk to you, and that Steven reacted to it. Like, get out of here. Anyway, oh, wait, was that chat? Something's getting recommended here. Click the video, Asmon. You can do it. It's right there. A mouse click away.
And I think also the odds are that every single person
Chad, if you watch this video and you see that, just click it.
Watching the videos is not because and this is another way to look at it, right? Is that if a lot of people are angry about it and they're perceiving the desert to be incomplete, that would also imply that they also did not see the other videos either. Because if they had seen the other videos as well, like you said, then they wouldn't be making these comments because they would know that it was contextualized.
Well, here's the thing.
All right, time out. We got to do something here. Just for context, this is the video everyone's talking about. Titled, "This will be my last Ashes of Creation video." He's done with Ashes of Creation, okay? He's done. Yesterday's stream, Subathon Gold will not quit Ashes of Creation forever. What a guy, dude. All right, you know what? Like it. It's all good. It's all good. I respect the grift. You know, I can understand. Oh man, he's actually farming. He is farming. You know, I think it comes down to this. He realized that Ashes of Creation, he can't farm the actual content because the mechanics are not there, so he's just going to farm money instead. I can respect it. All right, let's continue.
Here's what all I'm trying to do is make a video explaining why I am no longer in support of this video game. Right?
Okay.
I don't support the video game anymore because what they showed 2 years ago, this doesn't exist. This desert, this doesn't exist, right? Looking at my stream, I'm showing you this. This shit doesn't exist.
Well, how do you know it doesn't exist? Maybe they already have this built. They just haven't put it in the game yet because all of the systems behind it are not ready to implement it into the world. What?
What is this? Is this even an asset that exists? None of this exists, right? But when they
how do you know it doesn't exist? It's just not in the client you're playing. What does it mean this doesn't exist?
Showed it 200.
How do you know?
Sorry, 2 years ago for a $250 price tag based on this, the current state of the game. You saw these reactions, didn't you? You
I
were
did.
there
I
for
watched
that.
it.
You were very excited. Did you have
This might exist or not exist, but how do you know? Like, how can you definitively say it doesn't?
any impression that this wasn't the current state of the video game?
Yeah.
Yeah, this you looked at this and thought, well, this is the, this is what they got, right? This is what they're showing us.
Yes and no. So like I've gone through a lot of betas and demos for games before, and I know that like, for example, like there are many games that have cut content or they don't fully show the game whenever it's ready. And I think also there are cases where like big
You're acting like he is making a full video of the desert when the video was about the problems of the game and he showed the problematic part of the desert. Sure, he could have worded it better, but acting like there is no base for his criticism is making up lies to slander a game he put 4 years of his life is disingenuous, not fair to the guy. All right, did you watch my previous video? I'm going to do the same thing. Did you watch my video or are you just watching what I'm saying now? I mean, we covered all of that yesterday when we were reacting to it in general. What did I say exactly about what he did with the desert? I literally said, I think this is funny on Twitch because it's obviously a joke, but it doesn't translate to YouTube. Like if you're showing this to 150, 200, 300 viewers on Twitch who all play Ashes of Creation and have been watching you play Ashes of Creation for the past few hours because he was literally streaming Ashes of Creation, then you're doing the back and forth. It's a cool joke. It works. If you do that on a YouTube video and you literally only clip the part where you're showing this is what they promised, this is what we have, you give no context or you actually give no reason for people to even think it's a joke. It's just attacking the company because people are going to see it and say, wow, it's actually a scam. He didn't present it as a joke at all. He presented it as, look how fucked up it is. This is what we were promised. This is what we got. With a laugh. Like, yeah, we're screwed, chat. It's over. Look, this is what they gave us. This is what they delivered. Now, was that his intention? I have no idea. I don't know the guy. It definitely got him a lot of views. It's not a joke, though. What?
Components of a game are not being added in until like later on in the future. So I think if a game is in an alpha state, like every single image that you see inside, I think this is what your impression is, right? Is that every single image that you saw on these previews, you expected to be in the alpha.
Well, yeah, they showed this saying, this is the desert. There's many, if you watch that, if you go back and just watch that whole live stream, there is no context in that live stream that what they showed, this whole thing is just a concept. This is just the assets. They never once did they say that. They implied, they made it look like that this is the current state of the desert. It's not the current state of the desert. The desert probably didn't even exist at this point because the desert doesn't exist now. There is no desert.
Okay, that doesn't, what do you mean the desert doesn't exist now? There is no desert. That's just bullshit. He is right that some people can take what they said on the live stream as this is all already completed and fully functioning with all the systems integrated. It's a bit of a leap, but I can see how people would see that. I didn't think that when I saw this. All I really got from the Desert Showcase personally was, oh, cool, they have this mount functioning. Oh, cool, they have some really cool looking stuff around here. I personally never made the assumption that the entire desert is fully functioning with all the systems backing it. I never thought, wow, this thing, they already probably have the entire story arc finished for this, whatever this is. And when I click on it, it's going to, I'm like, yeah, the desert looks kind of cool. And I like the snail mount. That's all I got from the Desert Showcase. I like the vision of how the desert looks. That's what I got from it. Different people can get different stuff. So if you're going to make criticism here, I think it's fair to say, hey, they need to communicate better what a showcase means. That's fair to say. Maybe they did a bad job communicating. Me personally, I didn't really get the wrong idea from their showcase. I can understand why some people did. It's not really the people's fault. Might be Intrepid's fault. But it's really weird to say the desert doesn't exist. What does that mean? That's just bad wording. Like, word better. What does he say here?
The assets. They never once did they say that. They implied, they made it look like that this is the current state of the desert. It's not the current state of the desert. The desert probably didn't even exist at this point, because the desert doesn't exist now.
What does it mean the desert doesn't exist now? What does it mean the desert didn't exist at this point? It obviously, they had the assets to make the showcase. What do you mean it doesn't exist now? Of course it does. I played in the desert in phase 1. I spent literally like 20 hours plus just playing in the desert.
Well, there is though, right? Because like if you look
Wait, did he just go live? Is that why it popped off? No, he didn't.
The image that he showed, and if you,
I thought he was here.
if you look at it, you can see that there is a desert that's very expanded on. I think,
dude, this is why I like Asmon a lot. This is why I think the guy's really, really cool. I've always liked this content for this reason. He's a smart guy and he can pick stuff up. That's exactly what I'm saying. There is a desert. You can clearly see it's there. And he's able to pick up on this stuff real time and just say it. Now, that doesn't mean you have to agree with what he says, but I like the fact that he's aware of what's being said and he picks up on it fast and he can address it.
I think that you bring up a good point that like this image and this specific case with like this tower is not there.
Oh no,
True.
no, not just that specific. I would say everything in this trailer doesn't exist.
What?
Everything. And you'll be hard pressed to find it.
Okay.
All the trees were there. All the cactuses were there. The sand is there. The cliffs are there. Lighting's different.
Okay, well, why don't you just pick a random spot?
This one.
So that's not that.
Are you saying the sand doesn't exist? Are we saying that this mount doesn't exist in the devs version of the build? This mount 100% exists, by the way. Just because players can't use it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I don't even know if players can use it or not, because they literally showcased a functioning riding mount. It's easier, literally, to have the mount running and use it for a showcase than to actually animate the whole thing in an animation client. Like, there's no way they faked the mount.
That's not in there.
No.
Okay, go to another one. So and by the way, this is just a random. I mean, you realize that's literally one asset that's placed on a mountain, right?
And by the way, just to bring this up, this doesn't exist is also bullshit. The odds of this being an asset they currently have fully modeled, they just haven't put it into the world yet, is like 99%. For this not to exist means they literally took out something like 3D Photoshop and made it in a frame just for the showcase. That's almost more work than to actually have the same model done and used for the showcase. Like, this 99% exists somewhere within their assets. They just didn't have a reason to place it into the alpha test yet because it serves no purpose other than maybe a decoration.
So,
and maybe they don't want it to be a decoration. Maybe there's something tied to this that's just not ready to be used.
And by the way, this is just a random. I mean, you realize that's literally one asset that's placed on a mountain, right?
Yeah. But they've sold the game based on
this mob exists. We were farming these mobs. This tree exists. I don't know if this little house exists, but I guarantee you this asset exists. All of these. I mean,
this is the current state of the desert. We've got these dunes. We've got this, what do you call this, like a Badlands area. Mm-hmm. None of it's actually there. These trees, when they sold the desert expansion, they said that we could cut the trees down.
And you can cut the trees down. That cutting, oh my God, like, is he being purposely obtuse just to defend the point? Like, it's so stupid. Okay, so yes, you can't cut any of the trees down, but I guarantee you the physics for the trees to be cut down are there. The ability for the trees to fall are there. The reason you can't cut the trees down is because their crafting system, their gathering system, they haven't been linked to these specific types of trees. None of the current items you can craft are using these materials yet. Other systems are not linked to the materials you can gather in the desert, which means there's no purpose to gathering them, which means there's no reason to actually enable these trees to be cut down in the first place. These aren't just like some fake, like, it's such a weird take to have.
You can't actually cut the trees down. The trees don't exist. You run through them. They are they're not real assets. They're assets in the fact that they're there, like you can see them, but you can't interact with them.
You can't interact with them because they haven't put the flag of interactable. That's literally one flag. The reason they haven't done that yet is because other systems that are linked to that are not ready.
There's no interaction with anything in the desert. The mobs are just randomly placed, seemingly. There's no points of interest. So the Riverlands is full of these points of interest. There's about 18 or so, 20 points of interest. You know, they're pretty, they're pretty fleshed out, pretty good, especially the Tara Coffin. Tara Coffin looks great. But the desert is missing all of that. It's missing all of that, right? This is what the quote unquote expansion to the desert is. It's this.
So what do you like? How do you define? Because like I think this has been a big problem with the Ashes of Creation like development, and it's
you're not wrong, man.
It's
holy.
Wait, what?
You're not wrong. The whole thing where
Phase 2, you cannot run through them. Fair.
What's what?
Well, what is it like? Yeah, like how do you define an alpha? Because like like I've played through a lot of alphas in games, and like some alphas are very different than others. Some of them will have like the entire game available, and there'll be huge swaths of just totally unfinished content. And other people will only have an alpha where it's a small slice of the gameplay, but it's finished inside of that little small area. Yeah. And so like how do you define alpha?
That's a marketing alpha.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ashes is obviously not a marketing alpha. However, they have marketed the current progress of the game falsely.
Narc is uninformed about game dev and has unrealistic expectations, and he's doubling down on what he showed in his video. I think Narc's a smart guy. That would be really stupid. I have a hard time believing that he's just uninformed about the dev progress. I think I don't know, man. I really don't know. I don't know what's up. Maybe he's really tired from the subathon. Maybe he's just so sick of Ashes, he's trying to convince himself that he doesn't like it, that it's a scam, so he can play other games. I have no idea. There's people like that. I know I have literally people I know in real life who I'm friends with, who are nice people, who, if they actively don't like something, they convince themselves that that something is bad in order to justify to not do that something. I'm sure everyone here knows people like that. Maybe some of you are like that. It's an emotional reaction to things. You can have very smart people that when they get emotional, they stop thinking logically and try to justify their emotional feelings with bad facts. And they're able to just like ignore all counter arguments. Your brother? Yeah, there's a lot of people like that. Good people who instead of saying, these are the facts, this is the truth, they say, this is how I feel about something, hence this is the truth, hence I'm going to find facts that support the way I feel. That's very common. I mean, it bothers me when people do that, but I think it's just like some people's nature. So anyway, let's continue here.
The game, there is no pigs. There is none of this.
And yes, we're all like that. But some people are much more like that than others.
When you say there is none, what you mean is that the alpha doesn't have any in them, any of that system right now. That's correct?
Yeah. So currently, in the alpha, what the freehold is.
This is such a breath of fresh air. He's saying pretty much everything I would have said in the moment. So I get frustrated something's watching like interviews or reacting to stuff like this where the host doesn't say anything and just lets things just fly by. But I think Asmon's doing a great job at this.
It's just a static asset with a fence and a house that's randomized seemingly. I'm not quite sure how I think it's just a randomly generated house.
Yeah.
Then you walk up to it and then you purchase it for 20 gold or 50 gold. And then it's supposed to have the ability to plant trees, but I received a bunch of reports.
So like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, so do you think they're not going to finish it or like, cause I feel like that's like a textbook example of something that they clearly this is the rudimentary version of it.
So how I see it is the devs, okay, I haven't played phase 2, so I have no idea what it looks like. So I'm talking from ignorance here. But whatever it looks like if I'm thinking from like the devs' point of view. Okay, guys, we're testing phase 2 now. We're going to start implementing freeholds. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put the base structure of freeholds, just the power to build the house itself. And let's not put that out there for a week or two. Let's see if that breaks the server in one way or another. If that's working, we're going to implement some farming into it. Once that works out and there's no bugs with that, we're going to implement some animal husbandry into it. Okay, that's working properly. Oh, no, we have a few bugs. Let's fix those. Like, Isn't that what you do as a dev company? You don't try to like put in 50 systems at once, get 5,000 errors, have no idea what's causing the errors or not. If you're trying to test something in an alpha environment, you put things one at a time. Make sure they work in isolation, because if you do run into bugs, you know exactly what's causing the bug due to only having one variable to look at, right? You put in houses, okay, we have bugs. Well, we know 100% it's the houses causing the bugs. Let's fix the bug. Great. This is now working. All right, let's implement one more thing to it. You can't try to put everything together. Oh, look, servers are crashing nonstop. What's causing a crash? We have no freaking idea. And we have no way to find out. Why? Because we just put in 50 systems at once. I don't know what they did with freeholds. I haven't played phase 2. But whatever they implemented, it is so bizarre to assume, well, this is all they have. It's bizarre.
And they're going to put more of it into the game, right?
But what people are discontent about is the fact that they showed it 2 years ago in a complete state and in a seemingly fully functional state. And now we pledged $250 based off the idea that it was in that state, just to find out that 2 years later, remember this is a 2-year...
That's fair. Narc's point here is fair. People can't be upset about that. I could see that. Maybe people thought freeholds are absolutely completed and ready to run. Everything is already set up. They've already like managed to fully code it and it's working as shown. If people made that assumption, it's like, well, we already have freeholds ready. Okay, I can understand that. Here's a point to take. Actually, yeah, let's leave it at that. That's fair.
Context, right? 2 years. So you'd think they'd be much farther along than what they showed in 2 years. And we spent hundreds of dollars to support it, but now it's seemingly only just being rolled out. But I think that's what a lot of my community are discontent about, and it's why I don't really feel like, what I feel like, Asmon, is I feel like I've lied to people.
All right, but one other thing to consider here is, do we even know if that's not the case? Everything they showcased in the freehold section might actually all be ready as well. Like, it might actually be all done. They might already have all the animals, all the pigs ready to grow, ready to slaughter. They might have all the refining stations ready to refine. They might have everything already finished. And I don't know how much of it they have finished. I don't know. I'm not in Intrepid. I don't work for them. Even if they had everything finished, let's just assume everything they showcased was ready to ship. Now the question is it integrated into the other systems in the game? For example, let's say they have all the refining stations working. Has that been linked to all the crafting systems in the game? Has that been linked to, let's say, for example, okay, do they have the UIs ready for that? Right? It could be the case that they've already set a lot of things up for the freeholds, but they haven't worked on the UI to let the user actually interface with those systems. Imagine like putting in the option into the alpha for you to raise animals, but you don't have a UI to raise the animals. Like, what sense does that make, right? There's a lot of, like, Ashes is a very complex game with a million different systems that have to all work with each other. So just because they have the freehold part working doesn't mean they can put it in game if it hasn't been tied to everything else. So we don't know how much they have completed. All we know is they don't have it ready to give it to us to test. And we don't know the reasons yet.
For 4 years, based on what Steven said. And I feel really guilty that I've lied to hundreds of thousands of people because I thought what was being shown and what was being said was real. And it's not.
Well, it's not in the alpha right now. I mean,
no,
like,
it's not in the alpha right now,
right.
But it's seemingly not even being developed, or it seemingly doesn't even exist. The story arcs is another really something I was super excited for.
I mean, do you really think they're not developing the freehold? I mean, we have to assume that they obviously.
Oh yeah, they'll roll out the freeholds. Yeah. I'm not saying that they're not gonna. I don't think I've ever said that they're not gonna develop it. What I'm saying is I don't.
Wait, what?
Not even being developed, or it seemingly doesn't even exist.
You just said it. What?
Well, it's not in the alpha right now. I mean,
no,
like,
it's not in the alpha right now,
right.
But it's seemingly not even being developed, or
it's not even being developed.
Seemingly doesn't even exist.
And doesn't even exist.
The story arcs is another really something I was super excited for.
I mean, do you really think they're not developing the freehold? I mean, we have to assume that they obviously.
Oh yeah, they'll roll out the freeholds. Yeah. I'm not saying that they're not gonna. I don't think I've ever said that they're not gonna develop it. What I'm
Oh no, dude. Oh my god, bro. All right. Oh. Yeah, I think those 20 seconds literally just solidified for me. That was the fastest 180 known to man. To be fair, he worded it in future tense versus progressive tense. I mean, I guess, yeah.
I'm saying is I don't agree with how they've sold $250 packs of the things that making it seem like it exists when it doesn't exist. I don't agree with that. Therefore, I decided, do you know what? Ethically, I can't continue doing this. I can't continue because I feel like I'm lying. I don't want to lie.
Okay. So do you think if the alpha was free, how would you think that would change your perception of the game?
How would it change me? I mean, if it was free, nothing would matter, right? If it was free, then thumbs up. I'll be pogging out if it was free.
Okay, so you're primarily upset about the price of the alpha, and you feel like that the alpha for the price of it isn't giving you what you thought that you spent your money for. Is that pretty much it?
What's happened? Yeah. I feel, just for context as well, is that I didn't actually pay any money. Someone I used to know actually donated me a key back in Alpha 1. So I've got context all the way back in Alpha 1, right? I know the full development. I know all of it, right? What I'm saying is when I say I spent $250, I'm speaking for my community. So I spent $250, based on what was shown. So many people have approached me and just said to themselves, you know, I backed during this showcase because
he banned the mod and gave him the money. Jeez.
I looked at this showcase and I thought, holy shit, they are so far along. I'm going to help support them, $250, just for them to log into an alpha that is, you know, this.
Okay. So do you think they're going to finish the game? Like, I mean, so because you said at one point that it was like fakery, and then at another point you said that it was not a scam. So like, where do you think the game is going to go?
So I think they're falsely advertising the current state of the game. Like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was. They've been falsely advertising the current state of the game to make funding, to help fund their game. So what I said in the quote that I used.
That's probably very partially true. So I do suspect that with the key sales, they're hoping to sell as many keys as possible to help funding. I think that's very high probability true, that they want to raise as much money as possible with the key sales. And because you have that incentive to sell as many keys, you probably want to represent the game's current development in the best light possible, right? So they probably sweetened their words. They were more careful with exactly how they phrase things to make it as appealable as possible to people who are going to spend money on the keys. So yeah, I even did notice that once most of the keys were probably already sold, that's when they started to ramp up the speech of, do not expect this to be a finished game. Do not expect this to be a finished game. This is a true alpha. Like, they really started hammering that pretty hard a time after the key sales went on, right? They're like, oh, all right, we sold a lot of the keys. Now let's make sure we like dial back. Like, that did kind of happen. So I do agree with this.
This isn't open development. It's funding at any cost. So that's what I feel like they're doing. They're trying to fund, Steven's trying to fund the game at any cost, even if they have to lie and show fake things that aren't real at the time. It's just a concept that's going to eventually exist. If we'd known that, if I had known that, if you had known that, would you still have the same perception of the video game from 2 years ago?
Do you want my
know.
honest answer?
Yeah.
Probably yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I've seen how a lot of games have been developed over the years, and I think this is very common. So, like, one thing, yeah. So I'll give you an example. Like, well, let me. This is an abstract example. I'll explain it. So, in Warwoods Draenor in WoW, the flying was never actually implied for what the Draenor continent was meant to be, and so in the process of flying not being implied and flying not be planned for, Blizzard had a massive, huge problem that caused server-wide issues when they had to implement flying later on in a later patch. And what I understand is that the interconnectivity of different systems causes a bunch of problems that exist inside of an ecosystem of other systems. So when somebody shows me a system inside of like its own ecosystem, like for example the Freehold, and I see that just by itself, I'm viewing that as like, this is what the finished product is supposed to look like.
Oh, what a breath of fresh air. Somebody gets it. Thank God, dude. What a breath of fresh air.
And I wouldn't necessarily expect to see that in the game immediately, because maybe that isn't contextualized and developed around all the other systems it's supposed to fit into.
Correct. The flying example is great. You can make a flying object with an Unreal Engine. It can fly around all perfect. You try to introduce that into an actual build of a game that has 5,000 systems, it might break the game. And you can't introduce it yet. You have the working systems for the flying mount, but it just doesn't work well within that environment. Now you got to try to fit it in there, right? It's like this big block that just doesn't fit into the hardware, right? You need to actually now mold the hardware to actually be able to fit it in. It's so well said.
It's like kind of you're showing like a finished piece of a jigsaw puzzle, but you need to make sure that all of the other pieces around it also are finished in order for the pieces to fit together.
Perfect.
So whenever I see a system like that that's not finished, and then the alpha, and I think that your perception of being disappointed that these things are not available, I think that's a totally fair perception to have, because as a viewer and a fan, you are hoping to see that in the game, and I think that a reasonable person could be disappointed in that. I do think, however, that it does make sense inside of game development. And like, have you ever done coding before?
No.
Bro, I started making a game in Unreal Engine 5. Do you know how long I had to stress myself and my brain in order to just get area selection to select the units? Bro, I spent hours on that for something so simple. And I had to do so much research to figure out how to do it properly. So yeah, yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
Okay, well, I've barely done coding. And one thing that I've learned about coding is that you can get one wrench in the system, one bracket is left and not right, and then
well, I showcased the game I was coding. I actually got it running pretty well. I actually set it up that I could move the camera around in an RTS style fashion. I could select units. I could like remove units using shift click on the units. Like, I got the entire system of camera control and unit selection working. I even managed to code the units to move properly and send them directions for movement. And then I had to go to LA for the Riot thing, and I never went back to making it. But I got pretty far, man. I spent like 10 days working on it, and I got pretty damn far. I got the entire camera control system, the movement system, the selection system working properly. So I was pretty happy with that.
The
it was a really fun
system
process
falls
learning
apart.
how to do it.
You make one change, and then the computer doesn't work, or the program doesn't boot up. So when I see systems that are evolving, like kind of in real time, that they're showing,
maybe one day,
they're probably going to show. Go ahead.
Let me interrupt.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Blizzard, right? We're talking about Blizzard. And like them showing Warlords of Draenor.
Well, no. So I was creating an example of something that. So the idea, the argument that I was trying to make was that when you implement a system into a game, that system has to seamlessly integrate into all of the other systems into the game. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times when alphas or betas for something like Warlords of Draenor comes out, let's say, every single system that was going to be in the game is not currently in the game. Like, for example, the Legion system.
Okay, let's focus on that then.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
I don't think.
Is he gonna say that Blizzard is a shit company? I don't think we should hold any company like to that standard.
This is what I'm saying. I don't think Intrepid were open about the fact that what they showed was not the current state of the video game. They, in fact, did the very opposite and said that this is the current state of the video game. In that very live stream, I can bring a context. In that very live stream, we had the devs talking about the fact that how there's this dungeon that exists in the desert, and it's this underground dungeon with snake people in it, and they showed those snake people models. They showed those models, and they said there's this underground dungeon, it's full of lava, it's been crystallized. Mm-hmm. This was 2 years ago.
Okay.
So if they're talking about it in that detail, then it exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't exist. But it's 2 years later, and now that
It doesn't exist in the client that you have been in the actual. What do you call it? It doesn't exist in the build that you're given to play. And I can think of a million reasons why it wouldn't be there. For example, it could be as simple as we haven't given the loot tables for the mobs yet. Imagine if they released the entire dungeon with all the snake people, everything ready, and they drop nothing. Everyone would cry and scream at Intrepid for being a trash company because they just didn't implement the loot system yet, the loot tables for the mobs. Even such a small detail would make people bitch and moan about the dungeon being trash, right? And that's just one thing. You have to have the loot tables for every single mob. It could be a couple of other things. Like, it could have 4 or 5 different systems that still need to be tied to the game, tied to that specific dungeon, for it to be a good experience. Does that mean that the dungeon doesn't exist in a different dev build? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It could very well exist in another dev build. It just is not tied fully to the game in every way it needs to be for it to be a good testing experience.
that doesn't exist. So what happened to that underground lava dungeon that they were going on about? They were saying things, and here's how it comes across to my audience, or the audience that, you know, I like to think that my audience are actually the audience who jumped onto the video game when you and Lazy Peon made your videos in the very beginning.
There's been a lot of, I mean, there's been a lot of people that have been really excited for the game. I mean, for for a whole, probably like almost half a decade at this point. I think about it. Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I like to think that people, that my audience, the people who I talk to, are those people. The people who come from you, the people who come from Peon, the people who have been watching the video game quite extensively for 4 years.
Yeah.
So when Intrepid show and talk about how they've got these tools that are going to develop the game extremely fast, and they spend an hour live stream saying how we're going to develop this world so quickly, and we've got all these next generation cutting edge tools that's gonna, you know, the game's gonna be developed insanely fast. We've got all these biomes. Steven makes quotes like, we've got cross sections.
Old Man Seraph, I'm currently not playing Phase 2. I'm waiting for the Rogue to come out, so I've not picked a server. That command is for Phase 1.
Of the desert, we've got cross sections of the forest areas, the riverlands, we've got the tabletop mountains, the badlands, we've got the volcano areas, and they're showing all of this stuff, but none of that actually exists.
Oh my goodness. I wish he would just change his wording, because you literally have to stop him and every time say, but it might exist, right? Can he just please say, it has not been given to us in the build yet? There's so many definitive comments he's making that he has no idea whether they're right or not. Might he be correct? Maybe they don't exist, but you can't say they don't exist.
And now we're in a situation where we signed up to do a test, to test a video game that is so far from what they advertised that we're not even sure what we're testing anymore. We were fully prepared and understood.
I mean, Intrepid knows what you're testing. That's all that really matters at the end of the day. If you're not having fun with the current test build, wait until it's fun. That's what I'm doing. You need to be aware that the reason these alphas are here is, number one, to raise money. That part's already been done. Now, the entire purpose of the alphas is not to market the game as fun. It's to actually build the game, right? They've already got my money. They do not need to sell me on how fun the alphas are going to be. They're not supposed to develop the alphas in a way to maximize my fun. They're supposed to work the alphas in a way where they can get the game finished as fast as possible. They know what they need to test better than I know what they need to test. Right now, Phase 2 for me is boring AF because I did everything in Phase 1 that is available in Phase 2, so I'm not testing their game. When Rogue comes out, I'll test their game because for me that's fun.
Fully that this was a true development alpha.
Yeah.
We were probably the most understanding. We knew this. That's what we signed up for.
Okay.
But we didn't sign up for a desert that is not existing. We didn't sign up for a freehold system.
It's
that
incomplete,
exist.
right? The desert, desert is incomplete. It does exist. It's just There are areas of it that are
let's
unfinished.
talk about percentage. Yeah. Let's talk about that. Incomplete. Let's talk about percentage of completion.
I really like. I would stop him here and just say, first of all, are we talking about what's given in the build we're playing, or what the actual Intrepid company has complete on their end? Because those are two very different things. Intrepid might have 100% of all desert assets complete, and they just need to actually get them to work together. We don't know what percentage of the desert is complete on their end. All we can really talk about is what has been presented to us in a testing environment. So those are two very different topics, and it's very important not to get them mixed up in like when you start talking about it. It can be very easy to mislead people, especially if they're not able to like think about this in the moment, to start talking about, we only have 20% of the desert complete. If 80% is still missing, this game is never going to launch. And it's very easy to ignore the fact that we see 20% of it. We can't see the other maybe 60% that's already done, but hasn't been integrated into the build we're playing. You have to be very careful not to mix completion percentage for what is actually complete and what we've seen. Because yeah, we've seen maybe like 15, 20% of the desert. Does that mean only 15 or 20% is complete? Absolutely not.
Well, before I get into that, like I'll let you get into it, but have you ever built a computer before?
Yeah.
Okay.
I built this one.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh, that's such a good analogy. I love that.
Go right, and so
that's a smart one.
I think that a lot of the problems that a lot of people are bringing up are like, I remember whenever, for example, like I needed to get more RAM for my.
I love Asmongold's chat, Starforge. There it is, dude. Yo, Asmon's, he's a businessman. He knows what's up.
Computer. And so when I got more RAM for my computer, I went and I got this RAM, and then I realized that it wouldn't fit inside of the motherboard. And then I had to get a new motherboard. But then when I got a new motherboard, I realized that I now needed a new power supply. And I think that the way that you need to make sure that like computer components fit together inside of a PC and all of that fits inside of the case is kind of similar to the way that games work. And so if you have a game that comes out and all of those features aren't readily available in the alpha, I don't think that it's really fair to say that they don't necessarily exist, because they might not be implemented into the alpha. Because if you want to use the metaphor, maybe the motherboard isn't exactly what it needs to be in order for that thing to go into the alpha. And I think that's the way that it works.
Right. I understand that. Yeah, I get it, right? It's an actively developed game.
Yes.
When they add things are going to break.
Yes.
But again, I don't think that's got anything to do with advertising a game as one thing, and it's not actually that one thing.
So you think that you were falsely advertised to because of the freehold system not being what it was inside of, like, let's say the demo.
Okay, yeah. So okay, yeah. Let's go with that angle. So the freehold system doesn't exist. The weather systems that were shown don't exist. Granted, the seasons do, right? That's actually really good, and I'm really impressed with that they did the seasons. The seasons exist, but the weather doesn't.
The weather doesn't exist in the build you're playing. It literally exists on their end. They just haven't implemented for whatever reason.
The story arc systems, the main thing that delivers content to players, they showed it in a state that triggered quests on your screen. They showed it so the world was changing dynamically in real time. That's what we thought that they currently had because they showed it, and that's what they advertised. The server meshing technology, that doesn't exist. There's no server meshing. There's no dynamic gridding. Well, sorry, there is server meshing. Let me correct myself. There is server meshing. There is no dynamic gridding. So they've advertised this whole thing that this dynamic gridding exists. Personally, I think that's Star Citizen copium, and there is no such thing as dynamic gridding. There is no such thing as dynamic server meshing. I just don't believe in that shit.
Why?
That feels like copium. Well, because it's technology that just feels like it's buzzwords that are trying to do something that's literally impossible. A dynamically shrinking and growing server. Show me it working. Show me it first. Stop advertising that it's going to exist.
Didn't they do that? Because the Star Citizen, they showed it with like throwing the ball back and forth.
Didn't
literally Ashes have that, where they actually literally showed like the ice ice ability going between one server and the other one?
The people that they've shown that, but it's not actually in the video game yet.
Okay.
It was a concept. Again, it was just a concept. Sure, it exists in concept, but it's not in the game yet.
Do you think it will ever be in the game?
Dynamic gridding and dynamic server meshing? No, I don't think that's ever going to exist.
Okay.
I don't know about that one. I don't believe in that one.
Well, we know for a fact that there are server boundaries in Ashes. They literally have done spot testing the last few weeks on the PTR, where they ask people to actively do PvP right at the edge of zones where two servers meet up. They literally were working on testing that in the PTR like 2-3 weeks ago. I got the notification because I'm in the PTR group. I didn't go and play it, but I know they're actively working on that, like on testing.
I don't know about that one.
People are saying it is in the game. Yeah, of course I think it's going to happen.
Really?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like, you have all kinds of different types of technology that are evolving. Yeah, no, I think so. I really do.
Yeah.
If you look at, like, think about it, we grew up playing Super Mario World, playing Super Mario 64. And now we're playing games like Elden Ring. Do you really think that, like, it's going to stop? Do you think it's going to just stop getting better?
Well,
of course it's going to keep getting
His
better.
thing specifically about dynamic server meshing, I just don't think that's real. I don't think that's ever going to exist. I think it's just an impossible technology that is just impossible. But
Okay.
that's
Narc is smarter than this. So I'm just going to assume that Narc is really bad at choosing his words carefully. To say, I don't think that'll ever exist is the stupidest take of all time. I bet you in 1,000 years it'll exist. I guarantee you in 500 years it'll exist. I guarantee you in 100 years it'll exist. So maybe he's just really bad at vocalizing his thoughts. Maybe he just really sucks at that. But this word choice is really, really, really just flat out wrong. It's wrong to say, I don't think that'll ever exist. That's probably not what he thinks. So I guess I have to be careful when listening to Narc talk and try to, like, that's not really what he means. He's just upset. And instead what he means to say is, I don't think it's going to be out in the next 2 years. Maybe that's what he means when he says, I don't think it'll ever exist. It's just not going to exist for the next 2-3 years. Maybe that's what he actually means to say. That's what it feels like. Yeah, it makes no sense to say this. He dug in, got attacked, and now it'll never change his opinion. Yeah, he might just be getting defensive on this.
but I'm well open to it being made, and I'm like, yo, if it ever gets made, wow. But until it gets made, I'm like, I'm not going to buy that shit. And it's the same thing for dynamic gridding. It's just basically the same thing, just done in a different way. Until it's shown, I don't believe in it. So currently it still doesn't exist. Dynamic gridding doesn't exist. So that's 5 things that they've shown in live streams that they sold $250 packs off of that don't actually exist in the video.
Dude, we're not even halfway there, bro, on the Narc arc. Oh, God. This is great.
Video game. So how many times do you have to be
Yo, chat, we're not even halfway done. We got a lot more to go.
screwed? How many times do they have to lie? And, well, let's not use the word lie. Let's use misrepresent. How many times do they have to misrepresent the current status of their development before we get pissed off as consumers?
Is that, like, question? Okay, so...
Yeah. How many times are you willing to be we play fucking World of Warcraft. We're still getting fucking...
He was going to ask. Anyway, all right.
We're still getting screwed.
For me, my perspective is that I don't really look at it that way. If I see a game and it's not in the state that I want it to be, like, and this is the outlook that I have on WoW now, is that if WoW isn't the game that I want it to be at the current point,
Not gonna play
I
it.
just simply stop playing the game until it is.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
that's a really good point,
that's
because
what you said you're going to do.
Yeah, so you used to...
Yeah.
You used to not be like that, right? You used to really care about World of Warcraft, and you'd play it, and
it was unhealthy. It was very unhealthy.
It was unhealthy. So what I've done is I've looked at the state of the video game, and I thought to myself, do you know what? It's unhealthy for me, and it's not what I want to do, right? I don't know if you saw those clips at the end of that video. It was like me dressed up in like some stupid costumes and shit.
Yeah.
Like that. I want to make I want to make videos where I can express myself creatively. You used to watch my videos. You
Sure.
see my intros.
Yeah, no, I know.
I love that shit. I fucking love that shit, man. And I felt like for the last 2 years, I've been covering Ashes of Creation, and I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I thought the game was. I've basically lied to a huge amount of audience because okay, let's not use the word lie. I've misrepresented the game to a huge audience, and I feel extreme amounts of guilt from that. So I want to distance myself from the game and try and pursue something that I genuinely care about, which is just making entertaining videos. And unfortunately, in the format of Ashes, I just don't think I can do it. Because
All right, so he basically just said what I said. Like, why couldn't you make a video saying, hey guys, listen, I'm really burnt out. I just did a subathon for weeks on end. I've only been playing Phase 2. There's nothing new in Phase 2. I'm bored beyond belief. I expected way more during the start of Phase 2. And I'm going to be taking a break from Ashes until they implement more systems and more stuff to do. And I'm not going to play until it's fun again. I'll be playing some Dark Souls. I'll be doing that for a while. I'll be doing more stuff on stream. I'm going to make some videos on other games I find interesting. And if Ashes ever gets to the point where I say, hey, I'm really excited to try these new systems or new classes out, we'll be back. Well, I guess that doesn't get the views. You know, I mean, listen, maybe he's right. He got 150,000 views on that video. Maybe that's the way to go, man. Maybe you got to make a video where you shit on everyone and everyone gets defensive and people respond to you and Steven responds personally and then Asmon responds and you get interviewed and then, you know, maybe that's the play. Maybe he played the system. Good, you know, good for him. Because he did get a lot of exposure from that video. So, who knows?
Because there ain't nothing here.
I think at a certain point, I mean, you're not going to be able to do that anyway with any MMO. I mean, I feel like that's always the case.
MMO?
I mean,
Oh, no. I'm not going to talk. No, I'm not going to do MMOs.
Well,
I'm going to...
Well, I'm just saying, like, in general,
videos.
like, I mean, this is like a YouTube content creator thing. I don't really think this has a lot to do with, like, Ashes itself as a game.
No.
This is primarily about, like, you know, the way that you want to take your YouTube channel. And I by the way, I support that, right? I mean,
Correct.
I think you should definitely do what... You should play other games, make content about other games, and try to hit those other
really
audiences.
excited.
And that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
My personal opinion, this is just like from my experience doing content myself, is that I think it's better to like kind of wean yourself off of that rather than cold turkey it. But you should do what you feel like you should do, right? More than anything else. And so, like, I don't really think that necessarily. I can definitely see where you're coming from, and I can see why you would be frustrated if you felt like every single development update would have been something that would be available in Alpha 1 or Alpha 2, excuse me. I don't think that was ever really explicitly stated. And I think also the truth is that the alternative to the way that Ashes of Creation is communicating its development is the way that I think Blizzard does its development, which is they basically never communicate with the public at all. And it's very...
You gotta remember that...
Yeah, go ahead.
You gotta remember that... But you gotta remember that Blizzard aren't charging $250 and slapping open development on their game.
I mean, I don't know about that. I mean...
Well, yeah,
maybe not a great example, but I mean, either way, I think that this entire problem is actually not even about the state of Ashes of Creation. I think it's more about...
I'm gonna be real though. I've done sandboarding in the Namibian desert. Like, when was that? Like a few years ago. I went to Namibia, and so they give you basically snowboards, and you climb these gigantic sand dunes, and then you sandboard down. It looked exactly like this, just with much bigger dunes. Like it was way more vertical. So this is a great desert representation. If we're talking about deserts, this looks amazing. It's spot on.
About for you,
just putting it out there.
And I
great work.
Forgive me if I'm overstepping, but I think this
very
is for
realistic.
You. This is about you reaching a kind of a fork in the road with your YouTube and wanting to take your YouTube in a different
yeah, 10 out of 10
direction and wanting to divert. Well, I feel like this is not true at all.
I missed that.
I mean, you did say that at the end of the video.
Is it about me? Is it about...
And forgive me if I'm overstepping, but I think this is for you. This is about you reaching a kind of a fork in the road with your YouTube and wanting to take your YouTube in a different direction and wanting to divert. Well, I feel like this is not true at all.
Spot on.
I mean, you did say that at the end of the video.
Is it about me? Is it about me?
It doesn't. That doesn't invalidate what you're saying. It's not invalidating.
I think it's more about. I don't think it's about me. I think it's more about the fact that I don't agree with the misrepresentation of the state of the game. I don't think I don't think I matter. I am nobody. At the end of the day, I'm just a random content creator on YouTube. And in my opinion, I don't think what they've represented is accurate to what they've actually got, and ethically, that feels wrong to me. So I can't continue to support something that doesn't ethically line up with my ideals.
Okay, but wait. That's not true. Okay, so you just said you can't ethically support something that doesn't line up with your ideals. I guarantee you, he'll be back to playing Ashes once the game is fun again. So here he's saying he can't ethically support this game anymore. And he literally had a sub-goal to go back to playing Ashes. I mean, maybe that's a joke, but I am 95% sure we'll see Narc playing Ashes again, if Ashes gets to a good spot again to play.
Does that make sense?
You think Ashes of Creation is unethical because they haven't shown, like, all of the things that were in these showcases were not in Alpha 2. Is that basically where you're coming from?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the things that they've shown aren't an accurate representation of the game.
With the current state of the game that's playable to the public.
Yeah. So
I mean, you know, like, this is what happens, right? So, like, there's probably multiple versions of the game. So this is a bit of a slightly off topic, but on topic. And it comes down to, like, culture, and it comes down to principles. And I've seen this a lot, especially once I've, like, gotten older, like, not so much in my teens, but as an adult. Most people don't have an ethical framework that they view things from. They have an emotional framework where they view things from, which means whenever you're presented with challenges, you greet those challenges based on how you feel in the moment, which means you're going to be very volatile. You're not going to be consistent with how you react to things in your environment, in your real life, right? Instead, the way everyone should do things is they should have a moral and ethics, like, framework of how they view the world. And when you are emotional and you're aware that you're unable to make proper logical decisions, you trust in your framework and you work off of that. So, for example, very, very basic example, not very in-depth. If I want to, like, get into really good shape and do a lot of hard dieting, like, I'm going to go to the gym 6 days a week and I'm going to be strict on my diet. There are moments where I have cravings or I really don't feel like going to the gym. And I emotionally feel like I am wasting my time in the gym. I could be doing something else. I emotionally feel like, so what if I have a chocolate bar? In those moments, all I do is I trust my original framework. I know that I decided to do this, and I'm going to do it because that is what I base it on. I can't let my temporary emotional state dictate what I do. Otherwise, how are you ever going to get anything done that's hard to do, right? Like, in life, if things are hard, and when hard moments come, you can't allow your emotions to dictate what to do next. Otherwise, you're just going to give up everything that's difficult. You need to have some form of framework behind you that supports long-term progress. And like Narc in this specific example is just not doing that. He's letting emotions dictate what he does and how he continues. And the problem with that is he's going to be flip-flopping all over the place. Right now, he feels really bad playing Ashes, so he's convincing himself that Ashes is trash. Tomorrow, he's going to say, I miss playing Ashes. Oh, look, the new class is out. I really want to play that. Well, all right, now things are different. So I expect to see a lot of flip-flopping because, again, he's working from the how do I feel is how the reality is. You have to be very careful not to allow emotions to dictate what you believe. I would assume is there's probably 3 versions of the game. There's the version of the game that we're playing. There's the probably internal testing version of the game. And then there's the dev version of the game.
Right.
And I feel like it probably exists inside of one of these other two. Like there's a friends and family alpha, and that usually a lot of people get friends and family alphas, but like they're like 99% of the time like NDA.
It's funny because that's what I built my whole channel off, right? I built my whole channel off of that exact copium that you've just said. I just don't think that's true. I don't think there is all these different. I don't think there are all these different branches where there's this magical branch of the video game where it's literally finished. I just don't think that's true.
Well, it's not.
No, I brought that up because what were his exact words? I believe he said something like, I can't ethically continue to support Intrepid, right? That's a bullshit statement. What he's saying is, emotionally, I don't want to support Intrepid right now because my emotions are telling me that I don't want to do it, so I'm not going to do it. He's not basing that off of an ethical guideline that he has in his life. He's just choosing to use the word ethical there. Because I guarantee you, if Ashes Star is doing well again, he'll be the first one back on to play. So yeah, he's not working from an ethical frame. He's working from an emotional frame. He's just phrasing it as if it was an ethical decision. He's not working off of principle, he's working off of emotion. He's sick of the game, hence game is bad, hence I'm not going to play game. Oh look, I want to play the game looks fun, I'm going to play the game. So this is not a principled or ethical decision, it's an emotional decision, which most people make, generally speaking. I'm just saying he's misrepresenting his stance on the game when he said that I can't play Ashes of Creation because ethically it doesn't align with my values. No, it's because it makes you feel bad in the moment.
True. And
you're
I think
right.
what the game is,
well, you're right. It's not finished, but it's in a more finished state. And the problem is that before they want to ship it out to be used by the public, obviously they're going to want to make sure that it's in a place that there are going to be no problems, like different weird things that cause server crashes or anything stupid happening. Like if you play any MMO launch, like you know that there's going to be things that are fucked up on the release. And so
yeah, I get that.
Like
I understand that. Like, no. I get. Let me interject. I understand that. I get that. But how much further do you think is along? Do you really think that there's this build that they've got, that's this developer branch where they've got all of this stuff here, that's this giant tower, all of these quote unquote assets? Do you really think they've got a build that has this, or do you think that this just doesn't exist and this was just a concept built to sell a $250 pack to help them fund the game in the future when it does eventually exist in X amount of years?
The answer is easy. It's somewhere in between those two. You're presenting two very strong extremes. It's somewhere in between, actually probably much closer to it being existing in a build. It's probably not within a full alpha build within all constantly with like it's from you can have a build of the game that is so bare bones that nothing will cause it to crash, right? You can just take that exact dungeon or whatever and have it in isolation outside of the rest of the server world, right? It almost certainly exists in that state. Now, how much you can integrate that into the actual alpha is a different question. But it's not one extreme or the other. It's absolutely somewhere in between.
I don't think that it exists in terms of something... Sorry, I'm away from the mic. I don't think that it exists in terms of something that's interconnected inside of the game completely, but I think that they exist in separate instances that are designed to be connected inside of the game because they're made in modular form. So, like, for example, the freehold system probably does exist. The dungeon for the desert probably does exist. Now, does it exist inside of a system that is completely connected with all of this, like, modular, like, for example, like, you have the portal that you can go into? Maybe not. So, if you want to use percentages, I would say that the game is probably 20% finished, something like that, on this alpha. And I think they probably have an internal version that is 40 to 50% finished. That's probably what I would guess. Which 40 to 50%, it's still not. It's still theoretically not even halfway there.
I mean, yeah. I mean, chat's saying it right now. I mean, we clearly don't agree on this, so it's an interesting conversation. I completely disagree with everything you just said. I think
it's just I'm giving you a guess of the numbers.
Yeah, I just want to make something clear, right? I don't hate Ashes of Creation, I got no bad will. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. I might not like. I might not like Steven as a person, but I got no bad will against Ashes of Creation or their team or anything. I wish the game the best, right? I want the game.
Wait, but wait. Okay, all right. Time out. Wait. Time out. You can't say that, but like 20 minutes ago, say, I feel really bad for bringing all my viewers into this scam of a game and making them like pay money for something that's obviously scam that is representing things that don't exist. And I can't continue to support a game from obviously a company that does not align with my moral and principle, like my moral guidelines and my principles. And then say, I have no bad will, like what? Like those two things just don't align. Like from the first comments, you're actively saying, I think Intrepid's a bad company doing bad things, and now you're saying you like the company. Like, well, maybe not like, but
Game to succeed. I just don't agree with the current state of things and how it's been advertised, right? So it's interesting that we have complete opposite opinions about all of it.
All right. Yeah, I get this now entirely. I understand the framework. It's basically Narc is writing emotions, and he's saying whatever makes him feel good in the moment. He actually doesn't seem to have a coherent coherent idea of what he wants or knows. He's just saying what feels right in the moment. And again, like, honestly, chat, type 1 if you know people like this. Like this, there's a lot of people like this. I'm not saying anything bad about the guy. A lot of people, they don't really know what they want or what they believe. They just know what feels right. And it's nonstop changing in their minds. I am this people. Yeah, there's a lot of people like that. And you can absolutely be very high functioning as this. There are people whose ideas just go all over the place. And their true belief is whatever feels right in the moment. He's just one of those dudes. Which I never took him as from watching his videos. I don't really watch... I've watched his live stream a bit, but not too much. But yeah.
With this.
Oh, no,
But
I don't...
here's my opinion.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's my thought, right? I think, ultimately...
Right. So I'm going to watch the rest of this and whatever future content might come from this framework.
The game is just going to speak for itself over the next few years.
It will.
I'm just stepping away. Because I felt like I need to at least tell my audience why I'm stepping away. That's what that video was.
Mm-hmm.
It was explaining my frustrations for why I'm stepping away from the game.
And
I'm frustrated because I feel guilty that I've advertised something that wasn't true for 4 years of my entire life. So, I don't want to pursue that anymore. I actually want to go cover other things and do things that I want to do that are in line with my ethics. Most of my successful videos on my channel are not even Ashes of Creation related. So, I'm just like, fuck.
Really? Most of his successful videos on his channel are not Ashes of Creation related? What? Guild Wars 2, Black Desert. All right. Those are his most successful ones. Interesting. Ashes of Creation, everything you need to know about Guild Wars 2. All right, so he has a lot of Guild Wars 2 content, but let's see. Fair. He has 3 really good videos from Guild Wars. So Complete Beginner's Guide, everything you need to know to play it. All right. Enshrouded. Maybe he's right. He might be right. There's a lot of videos that are not Ashes of Creation. Yeah, you know what? That's fair. That's kind of fair. Those are his most popular videos. Been playing Enshrouded? Yeah, we can't say that's a lie. I mean, almost all of these are now Ashes, right? Like, we have, let's see. Ashes, Hag's Day, Ashes, World of Warcraft. Nah, that's fair. I take it back. It's a fair statement to make.
What am I doing?
Sure. I think that's a good decision for you to make. And like, if you think that you should step away from the game because you feel like it's reductive or it's holding you back or you're just tired of it or for whatever reason, like, I mean, I think a lot of people do that. I mean, like, you get burned out. Sure, I think that's fine. But I don't think that...
most of the top 15 are Ashes videos, correct, but you can't use that against them, because when he says most of my top content is not Ashes, we don't know what he means by most. If he says, if by most he means like, by top content he means top 5, then he's correct. So we can't attribute to what he meant by top content. We don't know how many he was referring to. He is correct. It's a fair statement.
I don't think that it's that these things don't exist.
Because my most popular videos are not Ashes, then he's right.
I do think that obviously it's going to take time for them to be implemented into the game in a playable state that's made public. Like, these are two very different things.
You know, because I'm now you know, connected to a much wider audience. I would ask a question to that audience. If you did, or if you watched the coverage of Ashes of Creation 2 years ago, how many of you were under the impression that this is the current state of the game, rather than just a concept that will be in the game in 4 years from now? That would be a question I would ask to the wider audience. Were you aware that what they're showing isn't actually in the game?
You have to be very careful when you hear "is in the game." That's a very... that can be interpreted in so many different ways. By in the game, like within the studio, or in the game, in what we're going to get in the alpha test, in the, like, you know, be very careful. That's a very vague word, in the game.
Would you still back?
Yeah, I mean,
would you?
Go ahead.
Yeah,
sorry.
would you still back the video game? Would you still have spent $250 knowing that all the stuff that they're showing isn't real currently, and it's just concepts? Because I can name a game that did this very similar thing, and it's called Chronicles of Valeria, and you know all about that one.
Oh yeah, I watched a video about it. It's a concept. Yeah, I mean, so
everything's just a concept.
I can only speak for...
All of this is in the studio, right? All of this exists. It's just not in the playable version that we have right now.
For myself, I think that for me, if I see the way that a game is, I would assume that I would probably be like half and half with like what you're saying. Like, yeah, I could kind of see that. And I could also see like some systems aren't ready on alpha. I feel like in general, and this is like a distinction that I think some people make between like an alpha and a beta, is that an alpha is not feature complete, but a beta is feature complete. So what I mean by that is that things like systems, for example, the freehold system, would not all be available in an alpha, but they would be in a beta. So, and this is something, by the way, a lot of people define alphas and betas differently in gaming, and I feel like it's primarily a marketing ploy.
If you think he lets his emotions run his life, I bet he had a lot of emotional ties to phase 2 of the game and then made it fell flat. It's not that. So, now this is a bit more conjecture. I can't speak on certainty, but here's my best guess at exactly what happened. I've seen a lot of different streamers do subathons. I've never done a subathon. I'd be very careful doing one. But if I ever did one, I would have to go with it with a certain mindset. I guarantee you, any streamer who does a subathon for like more than 1 or 2 days is actively not enjoying themselves by day 3, 4, 5, or 6. It's actually hard to do like a 24-hour subathon. You can't stop streaming. You can't stop like recording. You sleep on stream. You're 24/7 in front of the camera. That's actively very, very hard to do. It's a form of almost torture because you can't stop doing it because you're committed to doing it. So it's really respectful. Like I have a lot of respect for people who can actually pull that off, especially streamers who do it for like days on end or even weeks on end. That's crazy. That's difficult. And when you get into the point where you're actively not enjoying yourself, or not even that, when you're actively suffering, the only thing you can do is go back in your mind and remember why you did it in the first place. Right? That's the only thing you can do. That's the only out you have. And like, I'm actively not having a good time right now, but I am committed to this because of X and Y reasons. So you got to remember why you started. On the other hand, if you start doing a subathon, like Narc did, literally, he did a subathon for Ashes of Creation Phase 2, and you are 2 weeks in and you're actively suffering, it is very easy to start blaming that suffering on other factors and then make the emotional decision to have an out, right? So he basically tied himself to a subathon of only Ashes of Creation. And he just needed out. He couldn't take it anymore. So that's my guess of what happened. I can't take this anymore. I need to play other games. And then your brain devises a reason for why Ashes sucks. A legitimate reason, something that makes you feel good about yourself. I'm quitting Ashes because Ashes is unethical and I can't support this anymore. That sounds a lot better internally to your brain than saying, I can't do this anymore because this is boring and I don't have the will to continue, right? So instead you say, well, this game is unethical and I will no longer be supporting it, so let's actually play Dark Souls 1 instead. And then, of course, once you've made that decision, you kind of got to stick to it because the alternative is admitting that you were weak in the moment and you couldn't stick to what you were, to what you promised yourself you would stick to. So that's my best guess. I'm not the dude. I don't know what goes in his head. Like, if I had to guess what happened, I think the subathon caused massive burnout, and he found a way in his mind to turn it into something else that he could actually continue doing without suffering.
More than anything.
Yes. 100%.
So, yeah, but I think that is definitely a pretty big difference. I'm not going to make so, like, if every single feature in the game was not available in the alpha, I wouldn't immediately be upset about it. I think that, like, as a customer, like, if you spend money on something, every customer is entitled to have whatever opinion they want for something that they spent money on. But from my personal opinion, from, like, playing a lot of games, especially, like, games early in development, no, it really wouldn't surprise me that much.
Right.
And so, I think, obviously, it's like you're making a gesture of good faith.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me ask you this, because this is something that really rubbed me the wrong way with Pirate. Pirate was saying, Pirate, and he's not saying it maliciously or whatever.
Sure.
All he's doing is repeating what Steven said. Steven thinks that the alpha's going to last at least 1 year, right? Mm-hmm. How long do you think the Alpha 2 is going to last?
That's a bad question. Because after alpha come betas, and it's a very blurry line to what an alpha and a beta is. The alpha can literally last 1 year, and if there's still a lot of work to do, you'll continue to work in the betas, right? So alpha is just really a word. A better question is, when is the game going to release? That's a hard question to answer, but alpha lasting how long, whatever, like it's very arbitrary. Is this what you define as alpha? Well, that's a good question.
So if they change the name of Alpha 2 to Beta, would that considered be lasting? I mean, because like so.
All right, chat. I didn't pre-watch this. I promise. Guys, okay. Let me just make it clear. I woke up. No, chat. Listen, chat. I woke up to watch this. This video came out during my sleep hours. I woke up and the first thing I did was click live stream. I did not pre-watch this. Okay. But I gotta say this, that guy over there is pretty smart. He's got the right idea. I'm not lying, chat. I didn't pre-watch this. All right.
If Alpha 2 lasts for a year and then they change it into Beta, would you say that they lied?
Okay, well, first of all, they're not going to do that, right?
Why?
Because they've stated that the alpha period is going to be much, much, much longer than the beta, right? The beta, my perception of the beta, at least from like looking at the game, I think the beta when it launches is going to be feature complete and in a state where, it's basically, that's the marketing part, right? That's where they start marketing it in beta. So I think the alpha, based on because we've got a lot of people that are obsessed with the video game. We've been, pulling it apart for 4 years, and we get a lot of joy out of that. We understand the speed at which Intrepid, at least from our perspective, we understand the speed at which Intrepid works. So what we've done is we kind of extrapolated that and tried to figure out how long it would take them to develop the whole video game, which includes those 18 biomes. And we think it's going to be a minimum of 6 years.
6 years from now.
Yeah, before they go into beta, I think. And that's
before
assuming
so that's even into beta.
Yeah, so that's assuming though. That's assuming that they launch with the beta after they have all 18 biomes. So that's just based on how much land mass they've got. So a really good perspective for like the audience who do want to continue following the game is to.
And how did you math that out?
I think I think what he did there is he probably took how long biomes take to develop, right? And then he's extrapolating that to other biomes. So if there's 18 biomes and they only have one fully complete by now, and the tropics and the desert are barely getting started, and this is how long it took them to get that done, we're just going to do multiplication now for the other biomes because there's 18 of them. And then you do whatever time found multiplied by 18, whatever factor he might have put in, they get 6 years. That's really, really bad math, first of all, because once you get one biome fully done, the second one's way easier. Once you get like 2 to 3 done, the other ones are way easier. It's because what it takes to... A lot of the really hard parts about finishing a biome are connecting assets to systems. So for example, you have all the assets working properly in the Riverlands into the systems they're supposed to be integrated to, but now you're adding an entire new biome with new assets, and you got to figure out how to integrate those. But once you figure out how to integrate those, the next ones you do that for is going to be immediate because you already know exactly what to do. And then once you've done that one, you've already done it twice. You have the practice to do it, so things become way more streamlined, right? Like this is not an expansion. That's why expansions to games are usually a lot faster than base games. On a base game, you're making everything from scratch and you're figuring things out as you go along. But as you get more practice and you actually learn how to do it properly, so for example, once they start integrating the desert, they're probably going to run through like 20, 30 bugs that they're going to have to figure out how to fix, why they're being caused. But once they get through those bugs, they will never make the same mistake again, right? So you can't do a one-for-one. If the desert takes 6 months to finish, the snow biome is going to take 6 months. That's bullshit. It's not even close. It might go from 6 months to 1 month. And it might take even less than a month.
So it's based on, like, if we assume that it's taken them 4 years, so the start of 2020... When was it? 2021 at the start of 2022?
Sure, yeah.
So it's been 3 years. If we assume 3 years, that's when the game actually started to be developed. That's the current state of the game. This version of the game, we think, started actually being developed in 2022 at the start. So when they switched to Unreal Engine 5, that was a clean slate for them, and that's a good thing, right? By the way, I think that's very good. I think they should have cleared everything before because the assets were not suitable. Because they're badly optimized,
it was the right
etc.
decision to go to Unreal 5.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. I think that was a good decision for them. That's very controversial.
I'm just talking about like biome development, as in landmass talkative ghost. I'm not talking about actual new systems. Obviously, new systems are very buggy. Like introducing naval combat, for example, is going to be probably a real big job.
Thing to say within the community.
I'm talking about landmass development.
But I think it was a good decision because it's a step forward. And so we think the development started there. So if we assume that that's when they started, and up until the point where they launched, and what they have is about 1/3, maybe 2/3 of one biome, which is
also. I know what you're saying, that detail work needed for every biome is developed. Yeah, I get that. What percentage of the team do you think are actively working on how the desert and tropics look visually, working on the landmass? What percent of their dev team do you think is actively hard focusing on that? I think the majority of everybody working on the game are working on other things right now. Of course, like people who are doing modeling are doing modeling, sure. But most of the work right now is probably going into networking. Most of the team is probably working on very hard systems that are hard to implement properly. I think very little of it is actually being done on actively, let's make the land. I mean, I'm sure there are teams working on it, because if you have people who only do 3D modeling or land work, that's their job. They have nothing else they can do for the company. But yeah, almost everyone else is working on other stuff. Once the systems are getting more and more complete, you can put a lot more focus into like pushing land work, landmass development. There's no reason to like put a massive focus on building the snow biome if there's more important stuff to do short term.
Is the Riverlands. Just for context as well, by the way, the Riverlands is...
Rogue hits PTR today? Yo. I'm going to have to play it today.
Isn't actually
Oh,
finished.
boy.
So another reason why I'm pissed off
Nice.
is the fact that they've started working on the desert when the Riverlands isn't even finished. So it's like, fuck, why are you doing that? That's really annoying me.
I mean,
anyway.
well, yeah, but like the thing is that, and this is, I think, one of the problems with like charging money for an alpha is that the way that a development team is going to prioritize and do things internally might not make sense to a person who's not like you're not.
The problem is Narc is using very definitive statements about development when actually without knowing how development works. Gabriel, I don't know how development works. I have never worked in a game dev company. I have no idea what the structure is. I'm talking out of my asshole. Like, I'm blowing wind here. I have like very vague ideas of how it should work because in my mind, that's how logically I would approach it. But again, I am super uninformed about game dev. I mean, I've heard a few things here and there, and that's about it. Although to me, it seems like Narc really doesn't know what he's talking about in this sense.
Like there might be an internal reason for that. I mean, I don't know why it could make sense. It could not make sense.
So there could be a reason for it. Yeah, let's talk about that. There could be a reason for it.
Sure.
So, do you not think that Intrepid it would benefit Intrepid? So all of this is basically miscommunication. Is how I would label this whole scenario.
I think that you're right about that.
Miscommunication on their point. Steven disagrees. He actually thinks the communication's great. I completely disagree with that. I think the communication's actually extremely poor, or it at least could be a lot better to help sell their game in a better light. Anyway, the point is why don't Intrepid communicate that what you just said to us? Why don't they communicate to us that actually here's why? Have you ever played PoE?
Yes.
Have you ever read PoE's patch notes?
Yes.
Do you know that in every single patch notes, the developers give a reason for the change?
Yeah.
That to me is peak communication from a developer team. And when a project is advertised as open development, I would expect that kind of level of communication to its audience, especially when they're slapping $250 on it. I would expect something.
That's fair.
You know, they're not actually extending anything to us. They're not explaining to us why it's like this.
I think that you're conflating two different things, though, right? You're looking at like a development prioritization list, which is something that's going to be based around development, and PoE making a balancing change of like, you know, Whirlwind or Cyclone doing more or less damage. I feel like these are two very different things.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like straw manning a little bit.
What Narc is trying to say is he wants Ashes or Intrepid to like have a weekly list of things they have done during that week. Sorry. He wants like a list every week of this is what we've actually accomplished this week and this is what we're going to be working on next week. That's what he's saying. It's fair to want that. Is that realistic? I have no idea because I don't know what the structure of Intrepid is and how they work.
But that's fine. What I mean is, why can't they just tell us why the desert is in the current state that it is? Why, when they said that the desert was going to be expanded and we could cut
Water went down the wrong way. My bad.
Trees, and there was going to be a bunch of resources and get wood and stuff. So basically, to up. For the context, you've not actually played the video game, have you? So you're missing context. So a major resource to level up these nodes and progress these nodes is wood. So we need wood in the desert in order to progress these nodes. There is no wood in the desert because the trees aren't real. So they sold the expansion of the desert having trees that were cuttable, that was going to have a bunch of land mass and a bunch added, but none of that was added. So from my perspective, as a customer, as a consumer, I think to myself, holy shit, you
can't cut it because they haven't activated whatever flag it is for it to be cuttable. It's just one click away from being cuttable. The probable reason why you can't cut it is because the actual resource it drops is not tied into the other systems of the game. It's not tied to any of the crafting stations because they haven't made the refinable wood for it yet. They might not have the UI for it yet. That's why it's not there, because there are other systems that wood is supposed to be attached to that it's not attached to yet. Once they attach it, they enable for it to be cuttable. Piece of cake. I mean, to say they're not real is just a stupid comment.
They're finally expanding the desert. They're finally giving us things to do in the desert. Because 2 years ago, they showed us basically a complete desert. It's complete. It's a complete desert. They showed us a complete desert. I had the impression, and so did a lot of my audience, I would say nearly 100% of my audience.
Your chat, whose forehead is that right there? Hey, chat, look at that guy. Right in the bottom right corner. I can spot it a mile away, baby. That's us, chat. Look at us representing. First recommendation. Who is it?
We're expecting a desert expansion. There is no desert expansion. It's just sand that you can generate in Unreal Engine 5 by pressing generate sand, and that's it. So what are we expected to test here?
Scroll down, Asmongold. Scroll down.
What's the point of the phase 2? Why did you sell a phase 2 for $110 when phase 2 is basically the same as phase 1 and nothing's changed and you just wiped everyone back to level 0?
I mean, nothing's changed yet, and they literally launched phase 1 during Christmas break, so the devs were not even in studio to fix it properly or like do anything about it. I'll be honest, I think they should have waited to launch phase 2 after Christmas break so that the devs can actually be in office and fix things that are problematic, but it's such a minor point. Like, who cares, dude? Like, if it's not in a playable state, don't play it. People are so hung up on, oh my god, phase 2 launched, I have to play it even if it's boring. Just don't play the damn game. I'm not playing it. I'm waiting for Rogue.
What are we testing?
You don't have to. If you're not having fun, don't play the game. Go play Marvel Rivals. And then when there's something in there you want to play, then play it. That's literally...
Why are we spending 50 hours grinding? We've already done that bit. There's nothing new for us to test.
Exactly. So don't do it.
So is this how phase 3...
He's literally complaining from a content creator's point of view. Because he is an exclusive Ashes of Creation content creator, he has to play it. And he's upset that he has to play it when there's nothing to play. This is a you problem. It's not an everyone problem.
He's going to go? What about phase 3? What about phase 3.5? What about phase 3.6? How is this game even being developed? We have no idea because there's zero communication. And I was hoping at least, I've tried to talk so many times about the lack of communication at Intrepid. I've made like 6 videos. I think you even reacted to one, maybe? I can't remember. And you disagreed with me in that video as well.
Which one?
But it was the one where I just spoke about the lack of communication at Intrepid, right? Let me see if I can find the thumbnail. But it was basically a TLDR of the video was the communication is leaving a lot of the audience.
Could you imagine a video of Narc talking to Steven? That would probably get heated, bro. that would be peak content if we could get them on a live stream together, live, so it can't be edited, just to see what the conversation goes to. I wonder who would actually lead that conversation. I wonder if like Narc would mellow down. I wonder if Steven would get upset. It would be very interesting to watch.
Confused about the current state of the video game, and here it is. The community are losing trust in Ashes of Creation because
Steven
a lot of
got
people
upset.
approach me. I am the,
I'm not surprised he got upset. Of course he got upset because, like, I thought, like, last I saw it was 80K views, but we saw, like, he was hovering over it. It's like 130K views. Like, over 100,000 people who have never seen Ashes of Creation before now see that the desert is literally only emptiness everywhere. And like, wow, the game actually is a scam. You do realize that means probably tens of thousands of people will never learn otherwise. Who actually might have liked the game will never find out that that's not the truth. You've lost potentially tens of thousands of clients because of just one video that wasn't like well done. I'd be upset too,
I'm
man.
not trying to. I'm trying to be as humble as possible. I'm not trying to toot my horn, but I am like the point where people come to get a understanding of the current video game. So a lot of people were coming to me and saying, "What the fuck's happening? What's going on with this? Why is it doing this? Why are they doing this? I'm losing trust, right?" So I was like, "Okay, how can I approach this? How can I address this situation?" So I addressed the situation by making this video and saying, "Listen, Intrepid Studios, the communication is really falling to pieces, and we don't know what's going on. Please, can you maybe increase the communication a little bit so we understand what's going on and why you're making these choices and why it's been delayed or why it's been changed." So now, originally we thought the Alpha 2 was just going to launch as an Alpha 2, but then they changed it to phases. And a lot of people were really confused about this phase thing. And then they added a bunch of prices to the phases, and it's kind of a bit like scratching their heads, like, what the fuck?
I feel like a lot of this is based off of the fact that it's paid. Like, I feel like that, like, because if this game was free, I don't think that we'd even be having this conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
So like, this is entirely, well, like, I think that matters, though, right? So, like, if the development process is fundamentally problematic or bad for whatever reason, then that's very different than you saying that the development process is frustrating as a paying customer. So, like, you're kind of comparing and, like, arguing about two separate things. That's what I would really say the most about it would be.
Yeah. Well, I am just expressing like random concerns now. But sticking to the point of the video, and the point of the video is that what they showed isn't actually the current state of the game, and I don't agree with that.
Okay.
Therefore, I am stepping away. That's all the video is.
Okay.
And then I showed comparisons. They advertise.
Can you show comparisons? Get out of here.
This is what we got. I've received a lot of pushback in the comments about how what I showed isn't actually representative of what the desert actually is, and you said that as well. But the
I mean, come on. You're not going to argue that this is what it is. Get out of here. There's no way.
The desert that is being shown has no content. There are no points of interest in that desert. It's easy to just generate a desert area.
Well, then why didn't you show that part?
Because I've already made a 20-minute video about it. That part.
Yeah, another video, yeah. Yo, what do you mean I'm lying? Do you remember the video I did last year? It's all there. This is just a continuation of said video. Yo, you're telling me you didn't watch that video? Well, that's not my problem, brother. Go watch it. And by the way, if you want full content, go watch my other 50 videos.
It already exists on my channel for everyone to see.
But
I've
you
already
could see
covered
how somebody who
that was
watched
phase 1.
You could see how somebody who watched this video would think that this is the desert, right?
Well, yeah, but the point is that this was the expansion. So we're talking about the desert expansion.
That's not what you said in the video. You said it was the desert.
Yep.
Like, you didn't say it was the expansion. You said it was the desert.
I had a section in that video that explicitly spoke about the expansion.
I think that you probably did at some point, but you also said that it was the desert itself. Like, I can maybe, I mean, I can compromise and say, like, maybe you said both, but I remember you saying that it was the desert.
There's a whole section in this video where he talks about the expansion.
Okay, well, if people can find the timestamp, I can watch it and
I'm
look
looking
at
at
it
it right now. I've got it on my stream.
Where's the timestamp? And I can listen to it right now.
Okay.
Let's see it.
Okay, let's go back to 5 minutes and, I don't know, 18?
Okay. All right, I'm going to play it.
25?
25? Okay.
5:25.
All right, I'll listen to it.
Main reasons to wipe the servers, yet the vassal system or level 4 nodes weren't even introduced this
I liked reacting to this video. This video was silly, but yeah.
phase. And now they even claim that...
And for those who don't know, if you want to watch my reactions, right there. See that beautiful shiny forehead in the bottom right corner with the word goodbye? If you see that, click it immediately. It's a great video, I'm just saying.
They're not going to wipe at all. They are instead just going to introduce new servers. So what's going to happen to those old servers? They claimed prior to Phase 2's launch that at the launch of this phase, Desert was going to receive an expansion.
I am just going to be talking about what's going to land on December 20th. We're going to go through what systems are going to land come December 20th. Let's talk a little bit about what we have coming up for December 20th, right? The Desert as well. The Desert is probably going to receive a little bit more love than the Tropics will, given that its assets are obviously a bit more developed than the Tropics location.
True. This prompted people to finally expect some remnants of the Desert showcase that was shown in 2022.
In the showcase, the one thing that looks so good is the color palette. Like, they just need to work on that to make the Desert look more vibrant like this, but in general, yeah. All of these assets are in game. These trees, I've seen these trees. Rocks, I've seen the rocks.
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
So then he should now go over there to when he actually starts comparing it.
Oh. But like, you see how that's confusing for me to see, because you're talking about like the Desert and then you're showing the images that are in the game. So you're seeing the expansion, and you said it prompted people to believe what's going to be seen 2 years ago, and then you're showing that.
Yeah. Well, I thought I was pretty...
Just rewatch it.
I'm going to be honest, I thought I was pretty clear.
Watch it real time.
I thought that clip there is pretty clearly stating that this is the Desert expansion.
Right, let's watch it.
And there is no Desert expansion. The Desert expansion is a flat piece of sand with 3 nodes that are copy-pasted nodes from the Riverlands. And that's all it is. That's the expansion. So they sold...
Looking healthy. I'm dieting now.
The launch of the Phase 2 with a $110 price tag based on lies, basically, because there is no expansion. You can't claim that is an expansion. I mean, do you believe what I'm showing is an expansion there?
Well, no. I mean, obviously not. I mean, it is in a way, right? It technically is an expansion, but no, not really.
Yes.
Okay.
Technically, yes, and I agree. Technically, it is.
But it's not.
Would you then agree? So would you say that that's a communication issue? What I'm trying to express is communication issues. Improve the communication. That's what I want Intrepid to do. I care a lot about Intrepid.
All right, wait a second. So look, I haven't played Phase 2, and I don't plan to play until Rogue is out. So I don't know if the Desert is any different from Phase 1. Let's say the Desert is exactly the same as Phase 1. Exactly the same. And the only thing that's different is they added a lot of empty area. I don't know if this is the case or not, because I've not played. But let's say that is the case. And let's say the only thing we heard from Steven was the thing we just watched, where he said, at December 20th, we're going to see an expansion to the Desert. Let's say all of these things are true. Even in that scenario, the only takeaway is they did not meet the time quota. It's going to take a bit longer. It might happen in January. Maybe even longer. It means they didn't get it done in time. Okay. There it is. So they're going to be late. I guess we can get upset that it's not there yet. Does that mean it's not going to be there? Absolutely not. It will be there. I can guarantee you 100% we'll see more Desert. 100%. 99%. So to start calling it a scam, silly.
Care a lot about Ashes of Creation. I want them to improve their communication skills, because I think it's vital for the survival of this open development project that communicate.
Nope. It doesn't matter how bad communication is. If the end product is good, people are going to play it. That's all people care about. The only thing that like better communication would be good for is, generally speaking, I mean, I'm all for better communication, but it's not really going to matter too much. The game is good.
And you don't think that it's misleading at all to show the edge of the map and then to say that that's the new stuff?
Not the edge of the map. No, that's not the edge of the map. That is directly in smack bang in the middle of the desert. This is a node here. This is in the middle of the desert. I've shown that point before. This is just beyond that point. This is the desert. This is the expansion that they advertised. That part that Steven showed existed in phase 1. I've already covered it. I've got a whole 20-minute video showing that already. That isn't the expansion. This, what I'm showing on my screen right now, is the so-called expansion.
Okay.
You understand?
I mean, I'd have to see it for myself and make sure and decide that.
Yep.
I mean, look up the definition of expansion. Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean,
Why does this color look so much better?
That isn't the
Probably a
expansion.
different time of day.
This, what I'm showing on my screen right now, is the so-called expansion.
Okay.
You understand?
I mean, I'd have to see it for myself and make sure and decide that.
Yep.
I mean, look up the definition of expansion. Yeah, I'm not sure. I do think that, like...
I recommend 2 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Wait 2 years.
So you think it's going to be 2 years until the alpha comes out?
I think it... No. What I'm saying is give it 2 years. Like, forget about Ashes, right? Stop thinking about the video game. Let them develop it for 2 years, and then come and check in 2 years to see how they're doing. That's what I recommend.
I just think that it's unfair to expect for an Alpha 2 to have all of the features in it, because I've played a lot of Alphas before.
Better not come. Oh, he's coming back, dude. Are you crazy? There's no way he doesn't play it again.
And they've never had...
The first video that we reacted to was literally him saying, hey, this is my excuse to play other games until I feel like playing Ashes again. The whole title of, like, I'm quitting, I'm never playing Ashes again is just clickbait.
They've delivered on their features so far. No, they've delivered their features so far.
Well, you said they didn't deliver the freehold.
They haven't delivered the freeholds yet, but they will do. I didn't say anywhere that they're not going to deliver the features. They will do, but don't get it twisted. It's not going to be in 2 years, boys. It's going to be, I don't know how long, and I can't tell you. Look at Star Citizen is what I'd say. Maybe compare it to that.
Well, we'll see what happens, right? But, okay.
Yeah.
So are you going to keep playing the game at all, or, like, what are you going to do?
Ooh, big question. Yo, he got put in the spot in front of, like, probably, like, 20, 30,000 people. Yo, that's... No, 38,000 people. Wait, how does he follow himself? Wait, is this somebody else recording this? I don't know. Some kind of wizardry here. All right. Some kind of interesting wizardry is going on here.
I think I'm gonna... Well, I have to, right? I'm not going to play it myself, but I've got a whole community who love the game, right? Over the years, I'm sure I'm going to get people posting the progress. So I will keep up with the game's progress through the people that still come to my community and post
it. Oh, man. Yo, he's weaseling out here. All right. I wasn't going to use the term weasel, but that's some serious weaseling we got here. Wait. Say it again.
Or, like, what are you going to do?
I think I'm gonna... Well, I have to, right? I'm not going to play it myself, but I've got a whole community who love...
I have to. I have to, chat. I'm not going to play myself. My community demands it of me.
The game, right? Over the years, I'm sure I'm going to get people posting the progress.
Over the years, people are going to post their progress. People. I have to do it for the people.
Yes. So I will keep up with the game's progress through the people that still come to my community and post.
People come to my community. They expect more from me. By the way. This will be my last Ashes of Creation video. I love that it starts off like this, dude, with the clown costume. Okay, dude. Listen. I know I said this will be the last Ashes of content creation I ever make, but I gotta do it for the people, chat. The people demand it of me, and it would be unfair to the people if I didn't make more content for them.
Keep up with the game's progress through the people that still come to my community and post it, right? I will just casually keep up with the video game and see how they're doing. But
The people
ultimately,
demand
I
it.
just wish there's no malicious intent towards them. I just don't agree with what they're doing, and I wish them the best.
Okay, that's fair. I'll probably get Steven on, and we'll talk to him after this. Yep. So,
okay.
yeah.
Do you want to talk? Do you want to talk to me after the Steven thing? Or...
Maybe. I don't know.
Yo, but if Steven says something, I gotta respond. We gotta see. Oh man, this is great. Oh, all right.
It depends on what he says, right? Yeah, it depends on what he says. And so we'll get on both sides and we'll listen to what Steven's going to say. And I think that's the best idea. But I do really appreciate you talking about this. I definitely do.
Oh,
and and I can see where you're coming from. I think that the communication issues are definitely something I would agree with, right? I mean, for sure, it's hard to like manage expectations. But I also think that the way that games are developed, it kind of makes sense that some things aren't available in alpha that were shown before. Because I just think that's the way that development's worked in games that I've observed over my time playing games.
I disagree with that statement. I don't think that's true. I think that's Chronicles of Valeria copium. That's what Chronicles of Valeria did. Nobody agreed with that shit. So why are we accepting it with Ashes? Don't we want Ashes to be the one to succeed? We want Ashes to be the Kickstarter that succeeded. So why are we following down the same path and doing the same things that Chronicles of Valeria did? That to me is don't do that.
I'm just saying that's the way that development for a number of games that I've played has been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not me. I haven't played any games like that because I don't really follow scams until unfortunately recently.
Yeah.
That's a meme, by the way. That's a meme.
Okay. All right. Well, I actually, to be honest, I really need to use the bathroom. So I'm going to call Steven. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about it. I really do.
Yeah.
And best of luck. And, I'll be looking forward to the new videos, the Dark Souls one.
Yeah. Okay,
right,
mate.
I'll
Cheers.
see you. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. I need to use the bathroom. So you never participated in alpha before? Yeah. I think that the main problem, Narc has is with the price of the alpha. That's the main issue more than anything. And
I don't think so. I think the main issue, he got burnt out of his subathon. He wanted an excuse to play a different game. I think he used that video as a clickbait in order to get people to transition to watching him play different content, and then it kind of blew up more than he expected it to blow up, and now he's trying to like justify what he said there because he doesn't want to go backtrack on it, and he's trying to make it look differently. Like, I don't know, it's just weird.
And if the game, because like I've played so many games and they've had this same development cycle, and it's like some systems they announce and then they're not in the game at the beginning, then they add them later. This is just what happens, right? And I feel like if it was a free beta, you wouldn't have anybody mad about it, and you just have people that are mad about it because it was a paid beta. What game are you talking about? Oh, with WoW. Like, if you play alphas in WoW, a lot of the features aren't available when they first come out. Oh, I did see that free jam. Yeah. And Corn Brother saw exactly what's going on in Ashes. For sure. It's crazy that they're releasing a map without anything interactable. Yeah. Industry standard used to pay people to test games. Large problem is he doesn't understand the dev process. Intrepid basically needs to teach everyone how they're making their games and why. Well, like, I think that's also, I think that's kind of true, is that...
I can already see it. 3 years from now, Narc's title. I was wrong. Why Ashes of Creation is amazing. Yo, what's up, boys? And I never thought I'd be making a video like this, but I gotta say I was wrong. It's gonna be great, dude. All right, anyway, let's keep going.
The way that a consumer and a player is going to perceive the development process is going to be totally different than the way that a developer actually develops the game. So you have people that are looking at it from the perspective of like a viewer, and it's like from them, a lot of these like complications in development don't really have anything to do with the way that kind of stuff works. They need to be open about it. Yeah, but like, how can you be open about it? I said it was open development. Yeah, exactly, right. And so let's go back. I'll message Steven and see where he's at. If he's hashing it out. Yeah, no, it's not really a big deal for me. We do want some communication, yes, but players don't understand developers for sure. Well, no, and they're not going to understand it from their perspective. Mike is...
Hello.
Yeah, hey, how you doing?
Not bad. good. How you doing, brother?
I am chilling, man. Just looking at all this stuff going on with the game. Obviously, it's been probably, I'm sure, a pretty interesting week or so for you. And
oh my goodness.
Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of opinions, a lot of videos, and a lot of reactions. And so, obviously, I think that you probably saw a lot of like kind of what I discussed with Narc about things. And
sure.
He watched the whole thing. Not a lot of it. I bet you money. I would bet any amount of money Steven was like this, stuck to his screen. Maybe even taking notes, dude. He might have had a little notepad out there just writing it all down. Nah, there's no doubt about it.
What like kind of the frustrations in the community are about just different aspects of the game. And kind of like what's your take on it? Like how do you feel
the chat scam Steve?
Like people have been responding?
Well, I think the first thing that's really important is, you know, I get a lot of comments from people that say I really shouldn't be responding. I'm the head of the company. I'm the, you know, head of the project. Like, you know, let this be a news cycle and go away after 3 days. But I just want to give context into why I engage, why I respond, even if it means that it gives life to, you know, the negativity or the claims that are not true beyond the news cycle.
I'm reading a chat a lot now because what I'm interested is how's the chat going to look now compared to towards the end of the Steve part. I'm very, very interested in that because right now it is very anti-Steven. Big L Steve, corporate speak, everyone's like negative. I want to see how that transitions because, I mean, chat spent an hour listening to Narc, right? So now let's see what happens after they listen to Steven.
That might have occurred with just that single video. And it's because, you know, we care very much about what we're doing. And I didn't start this company to be another, you know, development team or publisher that doesn't respond and doesn't engage with the community. So I just want to get that out of the way first.
Sure.
My primary problem, and I tried to put this in the response, is that, look, it's fair to talk about communication. It's fair to talk about, you know, things that we could have said differently or done differently. But the key takeaway and the problem that I had with the video that was portrayed was the definitive statements that what we've shown in our development updates are not real. And that is absolutely not true. And Narc has zero basis whatsoever to make that statement. And I think the biggest takeaway for anybody that's watching the video, as you had, right, is to look at him showcasing a section of the world that was at the edge of the map, that is in the dunes area, that is incomplete.
So is this part at the edge of the map or not?
Which part?
The part where Narc showed? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's 100% at the bottom of the map.
So why did he say it wasn't at the edge of the map?
I have no idea. I can log into the game right now with you. If you still have the game downloaded, I can port you to the area in the game, and we can run around together and look at the desert.
We're gonna have Asmon playing Ashes.
I think I might have to update it.
No, don't do it, Asmon. This is probably gonna break his stream because the Intrepid Studios launcher, if you try to patch, it uses up like 100% of your SDD write speed, which means everything starts to fail. I've tried like installing. You can't even use Discord when you install a game.
There's probably a few updates.
Free watch? Yeah. No. Anyone who has done it's not during like anyone who has used the installer, it uses up like 100% of your PC. Like it doesn't throttle itself. And it just breaks your like. So basically what happens is if I start like updating my file and I try to type in Discord or move the Discord window, it doesn't move. Everything freezes until the patcher's finished. Like the patcher is badly set up for as a patcher. Like it I don't know if it's the write speed or whatever it is, but it just takes up 100% of your computer.
But you can start updating it, and we can go.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Patcher's fine.
The point that's important is that the video that Narc made has
it breaks my PC. Well, it works. It works. You just can't do anything else while you're patching. So I'm guessing like the stream is going to get screwed up. because of it.
And what he made definitively as a statement in that video was that the desert that we showcased 2 years ago is not in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I logged into the game and made a video as a response to you that showed all of those assets, all of that terrain, all of that, the cliff sides, the beetle bugs, the scorpions, everything that we showed in the video, even the wisp whelk mount, all of that is in the game. So definitively that was a false statement, right? And I think the key takeaway is why would Narc want to give the impression? He said, I made a video previous. He said that he made a video previously that had 10, 15,000 views. But the takeaway is that wasn't the video that.
I'm assuming right now he's like logging in. So when you log in, then it starts auto updating. It starts downloading and patching, and during the patching process,
views, and it's not the video that got megaphoned into
he's typing his password
half
now.
a million views. Mm-hmm. And when people walk away from that video, they look at the showcase that he looked at, and then he would switch screens back to the empty dunes, and they didn't see any part of the desert that was in the video, in his video. So they walk away thinking, wait a minute, why did you show this? This isn't real. But that's not true.
So what Narc said was that basically the part of the desert that was shown, like basically you had promised an expansion to the desert that then didn't happen.
Well, the expansion to the desert is going to occur throughout phase 2.
Okay.
Like phase 2.
Well, to be fair to Narc, that's not what Steven said, at least in the little clip we saw. I don't know if he updated that stance later, but he did say at the start there was going to be an expansion. Like he said, come December 20th. So
just started December 20th.
Let's be more specific here.
We are 15 days in to phase 2.
Okay.
And during those 15 days, the studio's been on break the entire time.
Right, because it was Christmas and like holidays and everything.
And
no doubt.
So there are 5 more months where we have been very clear in all of our development updates that we are going to be continually building the game. Mm-hmm. That is part of what alpha is. We have said that. And that means that territory will expand. It means that the tropics will be expanding, that the Badlands will be expanding.
Yeah.
Like all of those spaces continue to expand as part of the game's continued development. But what's more important is, and I think that this is a key takeaway, is the way that development works is, as you said, there are branches that exist beneath production. And to be clear, production is the name of the branch that's exposed to the player.
That's my stream. Why is your luck being redeemed? Did the stream app? It looks like
based. So
why?
when a build gets completed and when it gets promoted, it has to
Give
go
me
through
1 second.
steps.
I'm having like effing on my stream. It's like messed up. Give me 1 minute. I think it's like patching the game, and that's what's causing it.
It's possible.
Yeah.
We might be eating your bandwidth.
Yeah, exactly. Let me go back and double check.
I don't think it's the bandwidth.
Okay.
Because I don't have the problem from like downloading. It's not a stream problem. Like the PC starts running super slow.
Guys, are we good now?
I'm guessing it's OBS.
Do you know if there's a way to throttle the bandwidth that the launcher uses to download?
You might have to do it at the application level.
Okay.
He's got 2 PCs, you should be fine.
All right.
Yeah, I'm almost. It's not the download speed because, like in-game windows, like on PC, like if you try to drag a window, it doesn't drag.
It's because, guys, it's because I was downloading the game. That's.
Now, to be fair, this doesn't happen every time. I've also had patches where it doesn't happen, but yeah.
The reason it was like
literally,
fast.
I just patch ashes and just sit back
do
and wait for it to finish
because
it'll
probably cause other issues.
Yeah, they're probably. I don't know when the last time was that you updated, but it probably. It was probably back.
You don't have a good place for your microphone? I mean, I have a. Here, let me show you real quick. I've got a microphone arm, right? It has my microphone here under me, like under whatever. Right, so it's. See that? I just have it here at chest level, so just right under the webcam. Pretty simple.
Back in phase 1, so there might be some substantial updates.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I think that's what would make sense. Okay. Well, anyway, you can continue.
That makes sense.
So what I
about
was saying,
the desert and all that. Yeah.
what you were commenting about the way that development works is that there are branches that exist in our source control, and we use Perforce, where other features, other areas, other assets are not implemented into the production environment. It's because they're not ready, as you mentioned. They don't connect to other systems. They may not be connecting to certain services.
This is really off topic, so I don't want to go deep into it, but basically the wire is to the mic, and I have the wire running across the top of the arm, right? I have it like tied down with multiple of these bands, so it just stays on top of the arm, and it just goes along the arm, and then it goes around my PC, and it gets connected into the interface for the sound system, which I'm using a Go XLR Mini, and that Mini is connected via USB to my PC.
They may not be, QA'd not to cause server crashes. There's a whole bunch of reasons why those things might not exist. He used the freeholds as another example. In the freehold showcase, we showcased all the assets that we've developed. We showcased all the interaction and harvesting that we had developed. We showcased the housing and the furniture and the different mounts and the section of the Riverlands. All that stuff is real. But Narc definitively stated in his video that this is quote unquote fakery. Which is a complete slanderous and liable statement to make. And he has no founding or expertise to make that type of a statement. Which is, he also said that, hey, I'm just a normal guy. I just want to step away from the game. Well, then by all means, 100%, I advise that. We are not anywhere near complete as a development. That is the whole part of this process. And I have said time and time again that, this journey of development is not of interest for everybody. The majority of gamers don't give a shit how a game gets made. They just want to play the game. And that makes sense. I understand that. That's totally normal. But we are showing it so that people who do care, which is a minority of gamers, have an opportunity to have a voice in the development of these systems. So what that means is in this showcase you have here, the freehold example, we're showcasing how the freeholds have been developed thus far. Does that mean that they can exist within the ecosystem of Alpha 2 because they're either not connected into our networking system, or we don't have the icons and the UI to interface with the deployment of the buildings yet, or we're still utilizing the tax services and mail systems to facilitate that, the cargo, the construction of that? None of that stuff we showed in the showcase because it wasn't developed yet. But what we did showcase was the interactions with the harvestables, the ability to interact with the livestock. All of that stuff is real. And when you go into the game now, you can purchase a freehold. You can own that freehold. You have specific permissions to that freehold.
Yeah, I mean, this all makes absolute sense. This is exactly what I was saying this entire time. The whole argument is fake is just silly. Also, I think it's important what Steven said. The game right now is not in a state that most people want to play it at. And if you're one of those people, don't play it. Or be reasonable. Play it while it's fun and don't play it while it's not fun. Alpha, the main purpose for the alpha is not to give enjoyment to the players, although that's a really good thing to do because it gets more hype for the game and it gets the games, it's good marketing. But in general, they need to test the game. They have a lot of testing to do. They just need large amounts of people doing very simple tasks, causing bugs to happen, causing crashes to happen. I think I'm very much in the middle ground. Maybe I'm a little bit more hardcore than most people. I play while it's fun. I don't play when it's not fun. I play the alpha entirely. 99% of the reason why I play Alpha 2 is to have a good time. The moment it stops being a good time, I stop playing. And occasionally, when I run into things I disagree with, and this is why I like being part of the alpha, they might never listen to a word I say. Maybe Intrepid doesn't even hear what I say. Maybe it never reaches them. Maybe they hear and they're like, yeah, this guy's wrong. That's fine. But if I see something I dislike actively in a game that I potentially want to play in the future, I like the idea that I can make a post on the forums and at least one of the devs are going to see it. They might not take my suggestion at all, but they're going to see it. The idea is going to be out there. I think that's really cool to be able to do that in the beginning of development. So for example, let me see here. Like here's my forum posts, Grappler, right, on the main channel. I make a couple of posts like, I think Family Summon sucks, right? I do. So I made a nice little post here about Family Summons and why it's absolute bullshit, and I think it's trash. And I put what the issues are, blah blah blah, contradictions to meaningful, blah blah blah, and I talk about how I would fix it as well further into the post. I talk about why I think flying mounts are a problem with my solution to it. Again, is Intrepid going to read all this BS and say, oh my God, yeah, we got to take this suggestion to heart? No, not necessarily. But they're going to know that there's at least one person out there who dislikes it. I did the same for dueling. I did the same for, I like to be able to do this. I don't do this for any profit or for whatever, or for clout, or I just like the idea that, hey, they can at least know one person dislikes something that they're doing. And maybe they haven't considered it. And if I'm lucky, because it's a game I do want to play in the future, they might actually change one of the things I dislike down the road. I might be a 5% factor of why they changed something. Great. Maybe they don't change it. They release it. People say this sucks. They don't know why. And like, hey, that one guy gave a suggestion for this. That wasn't a bad idea. You never know. So I think it's cool to be able to participate in alphas at a time where nothing is set in stone and be a small influence in the development of the game. I think that's fun.
You can create root balls through the artisanship system. You can plant those root balls. You can harvest those root balls. It goes into the economy. That is what we have shown. And the same is true for the desert. But my key takeaway is that as a viewer, if you're watching Narc's video, you walk away from that video under the assumption that those things don't exist, because he definitively states they don't. But they do exist in the current alpha. And so to ask yourself the question, why would he purposefully mislead the visuals of the desert, not showcasing the parts of the desert that do look like the video we showed, if not to influence the opinion of his more uninformed audience? Which, it's okay to be uninformed. Like I said, majority of people don't give a damn about what goes into making.
Steven makes a very good point. I thought this was really funny for Twitch content, because Narc had probably like 300 viewers, and every one of his viewers has been watching him play Ashes, so they all know it's a joke. I thought this was really, really funny for Twitch. I think it was really stupid to put on a YouTube video.
Making the sausage. We understand that. But we're not doing this for those people. We are doing this for the people that care to have a voice in the project.
Yeah, okay. I understand that. So with the freehold system and like the way that works, so the way that it looks like in the demo that you showed...
Steven is mad. I'd be mad as well, dude. Like right now, how many people saw? Like 130K people have seen the video. You realize a lot of those people will never know that it's wrong. And they're probably going to hear Ashes of Croatia, no, that's a scam. And pay no more mind to it.
Like with the rabbit mount and everything, and like slaughtering the pig, like does it function that way? Like how much of that functionality is accessible right now in the beta at this very moment?
At this moment in time, with the freeholds, you can currently harvest resources. You can plant the resources, and there is the Lightfoot Leveret mount, which is the bunny mount that you saw, that you can acquire as well through hunting. Those things are currently in the game. And then what we're waiting on is the deployment system for the buildings, and we're waiting on the cargo system that should be attached to the freehold that allows you to bring resources to the freehold's location and store them at the freehold in order to construct those blueprints.
Yeah.
So that's still in our development branch, which is getting QA tested and some additional code to attach it into the node service, because the freeholds are expected to exist on what's called our node service and our zones of influence, because that's how estates are governed. So right now, what we've done to implement the initial freehold system is we've pre-placed certain freeholds throughout the world, so that we can test permissions and we can test the planting and those types of things.
Makes sense.
And then once we're ready to implement the estates, which means it has to go through our QA branch and then eventually get to staging before it makes it to our Alpha 2 production branch, that is when players will be able to then place freeholds under the estate system.
So, okay, but like you can't, like, for example, like slaughter the pig or something like that now. Like, I mean, so like for like percentage wise, it's probably like 20-30% of like what was shown that like you can do right now in the alpha.
There are chickens and there are pigs that you can get if you have a tier 2 upgraded node farming station.
Yeah.
And then you can place those on the freehold currently as you do the trees and the herbs that you can harvest. And so the pig will appear and then you can slaughter it after a period of time.
Okay, so you can do that right now inside of the game in the alpha at this very moment.
As long as a node has upgraded to a tier 2 building, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So, all right. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And let's see. Besides that, I feel like there was also the concern about basically the communication for like these different phases and how it works. But actually, you know what? Before I go to that, you were mentioning a development branch. So
correct.
Basically, there is an internal version of the game probably where more of these features are available than the public alpha version of the game. Is this accurate?
Obviously.
Well, there are a lot of different branches within our Perforce where we do development, right? We have an engine branch, we have an ICS branch, we have a development branch, we have our QA. Like there's a whole bunch that has these that have these features in different states that they're not all necessarily interconnected. They don't necessarily connect into the network or the services yet. That work hasn't been completed or done, right? It's still
they're all like modular different things.
That's correct, right?
Yeah.
And so what happens is as those features get more complete, they get integrated, and that is where the integration layer exists, and then they get tested. So a great example of this that Narc was talking about is something called our dynamic gridding, which right now our network utilizes a server meshing technology, which is currently in the game.
So he says that's not real. It's not going to happen.
Oh, no. All right, this should be fun. Wait, okay, all right. So Steven's saying server meshing is in the game. I wasn't even sure if it was or not. I don't know. I thought it was actually delayed and it wasn't in the game. So, all right, this should be fun.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I don't know if, gosh, I wish there was a way for you to log in. Oh, I can actually stream and you can watch. And I can show you.
Let me see if I can do that. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna just spam a bunch so it doesn't show our DMs or anything like that. And let me make sure that that's good.
I'm gonna start streaming real quick.
Okay.
And maybe you can just watch me play on a development client on the Alpha 2.
Okay.
So I can show you, the different server workers.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, I just started streaming.
Give me 1 second. Let me make sure that I can look at it. It does.
Dude, Twitch chat is so regarded. Like, they're so stupid. They're like a dev client. That's not what we want. Bro, he said dev client within the Alpha 2. That just means he has like dev console commands and stuff. It's the client that's different. It's the same server. Bro,
doesn't show yet.
People don't even listen.
I am streaming from on YouTube.
Twitch.
Okay.
Twitch.
Okay.
Yeah, when he says dev client within the Alpha 2, that means he's going to be playing in the Alpha 2, literally. He just has like GM commands he can use if he wants to use them.
I thought I was going to have to screen share from Discord or something.
Highly
like
regarded,
that.
yeah.
All right, yeah, sure. Oh, which channel?
Oh, that's a good question. What is my channel? Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
It is Steven Sharif. So it's / Steven Sharif. STEVEN. What is my channel? Hold on 1 second.
It doesn't show yet.
Wait.
I am streaming from on YouTube.
Twitch.
Okay.
Twitch.
Okay, good. I thought I was gonna have to screen share from Discord or something like that. All right, yeah, sure. Oh, which channel?
Oh, okay, never mind.
Oh, that's a good question. What is my channel? Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
It is Steven Sharif. So it's / Steven Sharif.
Steven with a V.
STEVEN SHARIF.
Can you just link it to me? Yeah.
I'll do that.
Sorry.
Hold on one. Hold on 1
Okay.
second. All right, there we go.
Okay. All right, so and this is in the dev client of the game, is that right?
Well, so this is the production environment, which means this is our live alpha 2. You can see
okay, so this is the live game.
Yeah, this is the live game.
Okay.
But I'm on a developer client, so I can do certain things in the live game that you wouldn't normally be able to do.
Right.
So when he's talking about,
can you go to that area that he was showing that was like super empty?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Hold on 1 second.
He's cheating, chat.
Hold on 1 second.
Yes, super speed.
Yep, no problem, no problem.
He's hacking, chat. GM items panel.
Dude.
And are these trees actual assets, or are they just?
I feel like that's not the
placed
best thing to show on stream. I'm gonna be honest. I think that's a mistake, because that gives hackers such a okay. So if hackers are able to find small vulnerabilities in game, technically speaking, having all of these is very helpful. Like just having the names of things, if it's impossible. I mean, then again, maybe this is not, because you can find this in-game files. Like they already have these names there. Still, I don't know if it's the best idea to stream that.
And are these trees actual assets, or are they just images placed in place of an asset?
Well, I think that's part of nomenclature that I think needs to be better understood by people who don't develop games. Right? Is like, when you say, is it an actual asset?
Oh, yeah, you're right. That's bad. So, like, can you interact with the trees?
So the trees cannot yet be interacted with in the desert environment, and there's a reason for that. Our artisanship service is a very complicated service. We, as you may or may not know, we have certain interactables that are mined materials, that are wood, that are herbalism, whatever. The way that works is those exist all throughout the different areas of the map, and certain types of resources are supposed to spawn in certain areas. And so because of that, each interactable node that you might see, and let me just show you for a quick, I'll just go and show you in 1 second here. Each interactable object is governed by what's called our artisanship service. And it's a way that you kind of create this dynamic server grid where you pull as many processes off of an individual Unreal Engine game server, and instead you have those governed by a service that lives off of the game server and that game servers can talk to. So for example, if I go up to this tree here, well, I don't have the appropriate level, so it's red. Hold on.
Yeah, sure.
Let me give myself all of the...
Yeah, do a little bit of cheating.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm cheating. Let me toggle max. So, let me go back up to it. So now I can start chopping this tree that I have a certain level.
Okay.
But this tree is governed by an area that is under our Riverlands artisanship service. So the trees that are currently in the desert biome can't yet be interacted with because we haven't extended that service into the desert biome.
I see. So there's basically let's say
we told players
you have there's like a middleman that's like not available, so you can't do the interaction. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's generally correct. So hold on, let me fly to the area that Narc is talking about.
Yeah, I want to see this part of the desert here.
1 second. So these assets are done. I mean, they are created. What needs to be hooked up is the artisanship service, right?
And once the artisanship service gets hooked up, then all of the trees and everything will be interactable.
Correct. Okay. That's right. So as soon as we get to this section here, I can't even move. Like I am blocked right here because this area is off of the map. This is the edge of the map.
Okay.
So this is a wall. I am stuck on this wall.
And can you just go around and like kind of show just to get an indication of like, because, I mean, the exact spot that he was at, but, like, is this true, like, pretty much entirely around
And then this is what's called our node quirk. So the way that cities exist within the game is they can be developed by players. Whoops. And this node has been developed, so it is a desert node.
Right.
He mentioned that the node is a copy paste of the Riverland.
Yes.
Hold on. He mentioned that it's a copy paste of the Riverland. That's because the way that nodes exist is they exist on corks. So we have a number of different node layouts that are obviously intended that we are continuing to build, that the node team is building.
There's nothing to interrupt you. I'm just listening to him speak because it's not like, well, actually, Steven, that's not how it becomes. I'm just a viewer now.
Yeah.
But those node layouts aren't fully online yet. So we use in these corks essentially the node templates that we have available until such time as the new templates become available, and we will replace these nodes with those new templates. That's how development exists.
Well, sometimes that's how releases exist too. I played New World. No, I get it. I understand.
True.
And so around the other area that like Narc was showing in the video, because I just want to make sure that like we nail down this point.
Bruh. He's got to. Well, I mean, I guess his name is GM Steven, so he knows who it is.
Point like 100% about it being at the edge of the map or not, because like to me, it's like it's very important that like.
Well, this isn't the edge of the map. This is in the middle of the map.
He has to send the coordinates that he might have been at. I don't know where if he has a coordinates, I can port to those coordinates.
Yeah.
But as I kind of like fly through the desert zone, right, there's a lot of it, obviously, that's still a work in progress because the zone is being developed. But the key takeaway that I have from the video is that he claims what we showed 2 years ago did not exist, and it does exist.
That's bullshit.
It may not exist near the edge of the map or near even as you go into the deeper portions of the map, but all of this desert zone here, maybe not this desert zone down here, is complete. But regardless, like the point of that is that this is still in development, and we have been very clear about that as part of our communications with the audience. Desert zone here, maybe not this desert zone.
I think he needs to probably go there because that looks like a node and that looks like an undone area. He probably needs to go here, is my guess.
Down here is complete, but regardless, like the point of that is that this is still in development, and we have been very clear about that as part of our communications with the audience, that not everything is going to be complete in an alpha, and that I know that can be a difficult thing to communicate to.
Are we pretending like Steven doesn't know exactly where those barren spots are? Probably, yeah. Probably doesn't. I'll tell you why. Give me a sec. He probably doesn't know exactly where it is because if we go to the actual video, like, I don't think Steven was paying attention. Like, okay, so this is the video that everyone's talking about. I don't think Steven was paying attention. Where is this exactly? Because what Narc was doing here was just using this as a meme to say, this is what you gave us, and this is what you promised. So here.
Way, shape, or form alluded to this being just a concept.
You know, these are some of the foliage that environment's been creating
as look
part
at that.
of what's capable of creating an interesting desert biome, because many times in the games that probably we've played, the least interesting biome type tends to be a desert. And it's been always fun, as I've experienced in the MMOs I've played, is like, you know, what is how do they spruce up a desert? And one of the interesting things you're going to see in Alpha 2 is how the desert also adheres to seasons and has weather and has giant dust storms and clouds within which there are interesting creatures that might not normally be present unless for that particular weather. That's going to be very interesting as well. You saw a little bit of the sand tornado capabilities of sand getting blown across in the distance. And you know, here's the key point. Graphics don't make a game fun. Systems make games fun. but graphics.
All right, do you see what he's doing? He hasn't said one word during this entire thing. He doesn't talk at all. All he is doing is letting Steven talk on the showcase and then alt-tabbing, insinuating this is what was promised and this is what we received. You understand? He wasn't saying, by the way, guys, we were promised the third node and the node was supposed to be right here and this is what we got. It doesn't matter where on the map this is. It makes no difference where in the map this is. He wasn't talking at all. He's making people interpret this as, oh my God, is this all there is? People who have never played the game are like, wow, this was promised and this is what they got. It's a scam. So you asking me, are you saying Steven doesn't know where in the game this is? He probably doesn't because he didn't care. Why does it matter where in the game this is? Whether this is edge of the map or not, this part of the video that is the main part being contested, Narc didn't mention anything. He just kept quiet and he was just making
always fun as I've
a
experienced
comparison.
in the MMOs I've
right?
played
Look,
is like, you know, what,
that's all he did.
What
He
is,
did that
how do they
for like a minute.
a desert.
Just
And
alt tab,
one of
alt
the
tab, alt
interesting
tab, alt
things you're
tab.
gonna see in
So when Steven saw this, again, why should he care where this is? This is not a good comparison. It's just flat out wrong. This isn't what the desert looks like. And whether there's a part of the desert that looks like this or not doesn't matter. It's besides the point. The point is that the desert actually looks like that in many places. So what? That means those places are not done yet. What's the point? There's a massive amount of places where it doesn't look like that. I don't understand your point. Look, this entire area doesn't look like that.
It is part of our process. It is part of the development of the game.
And so part of
So yeah,
that,
I'm just responding to the person who said, are we pretending Steven doesn't know the exact location where Narc was at? Probably doesn't, because he didn't care to analyze where he's at. He just knows that a bad representation of the desert was being used.
is like he brought up that one image and there was a dungeon, I think, or something like that, where it had like this really big tower in the middle.
It's called an Essence Geyser.
Okay.
So the Essence Geyser is a dungeon where a certain monster race that's called the
Thank you very much for the follow, by the way, Maka. I appreciate it.
Nagash live.
Okay.
And the Najash are essentially, sorry, not Nagash, the Najash. The Najash are the serpent race, which is another development.
So the reason
That is
why
still
that
in
wasn't so the reason why that wasn't available to be seen was because the dungeon isn't in the game that exists in.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And we didn't show that in the preview either. We just showed the Essence Geyser itself, which is an asset that we created. That's the top of the dungeon, and we showed the monsters that go into the dungeon, but those aren't in the game either yet, because their dungeon's not in the game. Their animations are complete. Their behavior, some of their behavior trees are complete. Like there is a lot of it that's being worked in progress, and I think that's the biggest that's the biggest rub in my opinion. Is that it is easy to look at a development, and as much as we have communicated, which we have communicated probably, and I'm speaking from a gamer's perspective, more than I have seen any other MMORPG of our size in development with a following like ours, probably that I've ever seen. And I don't know if
how many content creators can we get to milk this one whiny dude? Listen, bro, I'm having a good time. I find this actually entertaining. I mean, I'm not going to be some high virtual signaling guy. I'm doing this to save Intrepid's. Nobody cares what I'm saying about this video. I'm not going to make any difference in the long term. The conversation's already been had. I'm just enjoying myself. I think this is fun. I see Narc's point of view. I see Steven's point of view. I can see Thor's point of view. And if I'm having a good time, I'm hoping you guys are too. And that's it. That's why I'm doing this. I think it's interesting.
If you've seen another MMORPG in development of our size that's communicated more than us,
I've seen the negative outcomes of them trying to communicate. Yeah, I mean,
I'm not mad at
go
anybody.
very well. I mean, like the way that users and like players,
if I was Steven, I'd be mad.
Gamers like perceive a development cycle is going to be way different than like the way that it actually exists.
And I'll be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I can already see what's going to happen. I think Steven and Asmon are just going to agree to everything for the next 40 minutes.
Like the biggest
Am I right about
the biggest
that?
takeaway for me about that, by the way, you're 100%
Do they have any
correct.
disagreements at all?
The biggest takeaway, in my opinion, about that is many people have said time and time again, when I've gone to
He gets
DICE
fired up?
or
Oh,
when
okay,
I've gone
alright.
to, you know, GDC,
Yeah.
Alright.
different conventions, I've talked with executives at other companies and developers and publishers.
He's gonna go off?
They've said, "Hey, man,
Alright,
what you're
alright.
doing is crazy. Like that it
Well, I wonder if he's gonna threaten to sue Narc.
is
Oh,
you
boy.
you will."
I mean, I wouldn't like that, honestly. Like, Narc's probably not a wealthy guy, and like, at the end of the day, I wouldn't like to see that. I doubt he would do that to him.
alive.
And
in
I think
part,
that would
like,
be
we
bad.
know that's
Like, I would
that's the
actively say that's
double-edged
bad.
sword,
It is.
right? That is 100% correct. That is the downside of transparent development, is that every
Now,
single
on the other hand, I think it would be fully fair to say, hey, listen, you're slandering our company, and if you do it again, we'll pursue legal action. I think that would be fine. Like, to threaten first, like, cease and desist, and if you don't, then we're going to take it to court. Like, that would be absolutely okay. Don't get me wrong.
single thing you say, every single thing you do is going to get picked apart, and not by people who know the process.
Yeah.
Not by people who know what it takes to build these games, or even know what development is, or software development in general. And the best thing that those people can do is they sometimes can sell negativity, because if you look at Narc's videos, and this is not just Narc, by the way, I'm not just trying.
You don't support companies going after content creators? Me neither. But I think if content creators are actively lying about a company and defaming it, they do have the right to say, that's not okay, and if you do it again, we're going to sue you. I think that's fair. Because what do you do if somebody's like literally saying incorrect facts about you and it's getting massive views? It is harming your company, right? Of course, it depends on circumstances, yes.
Trying to pick on Narc. This is something that is true of content creators and influencers in general, right? Is that there is certain types where they want to sell negativity because it sells best. And
Sure.
Narc is a great example, because if you look at his videos where he's praising the game, they have 10,000 views, they have 15,000 views, right? They have something that is not the equivalent of the videos where he's criticized or where he's lobbed baseless accusations against the game, like his most recent one that has now 150,000 views and over probably 1 million views that'll get megaphone by you reviewing it as well.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And he talks about a conflict in interest for the referral program, which, by the way, many products, many companies.
That was such a silly take as well. Like, he said that content creators are all bought and paid for because there's a referral program. How?
Many services have a referral system. But the reality of it is, if you talk about conflict and interest, for a content creator to be incentivized by ad revenue.
Oh, that's a really good point as well. Yeah.
They are going to want to create content that yields the most amount of views and the most amount of
True.
engagement. And if you're looking at the proposition of making a clickbait title, or making a rage bait title, or making something that's going to cause drama and get picked up and spread and amplified and megaphoned, like, if you are that type of person that's trying to build your channel, like, why would you not do that? It's no skin off of your back per se. You're not getting kicked out of the game. You can come back after a year, and now you have your redemption arc all set up and teed off for you, right? It's like, oh, Ashes of Creation succeeded. You know, a year later.
Yeah, I've only done that myself 10 times. Yes, I'm
right.
fully aware.
But here's the part that gets missed by a lot of people, is that there are actual human beings behind the screen that are devoting their 100 hours a week at times to build something where it matters to us very much, the public's reception, the public's perception, you know, and that is why we create these things. And to see someone say something like, they lied to us, it doesn't exist, it's not in the game, when
The fact that he's being super defensive about this is kind of sketch. Really? You think so? So you're saying if this was your passion project, you're putting your life savings into a game, and you see somebody making a video that gets over 100,000 views in like a day, defaming your project and actively telling things that are incorrect at best and worst, outright lies, you wouldn't get defensive? Really? You wouldn't be defensive at all? You'd be like, oh, this is okay. I'd be defensive.
he has no basis for fact there, that is a super, super hurtful, sad thing to have to endure.
It's either something that's true or not at the end of the day,
Correct.
right? And so, like, if it's in the game, then you can show it in the game. If it's not in the game, then it can't be shown in the game.
Correct.
Like,
And that's why I made that response video.
Yeah, I feel like it's actually like a super simple dynamic, and I think that like with I feel like with content, it's not necessarily always something that's negative. It's something that reinforces viewpoints that people already have. So like if people already have a viewpoint that's something, yeah, it's confirmation bias. People want to hear that their opinion that they have is already accurate. And so
for sure. But I will say one thing to that, Asmon. I will say one thing to that.
Yeah.
Is while
I mean, that reminds me of like imagine somebody tells you in public, yo, dude, you're a racist, man. You're like, no, I'm not. I'm not racist. Oh, you getting defensive, bro? Why? Why are you getting defensive? Like, of course you're going to get defensive. Somebody says something about you that's not true. Your first instinct is to defend yourself from accusations.
While you're saying it's true, it's either in the game or it isn't. The fact of the matter is that some percentage of the 150,000 views that he's already garnered with that video will not see that truth afterwards.
True.
They will walk away. They may not watch the follow-up video.
Yep.
Right? That's how media works. That's how marketing works. And they're eventually going to, it's kind of like that effect, you know, where they say we have too many satellites in orbit and eventually trash is going to start, hitting each other. And it's going to have this exponential growth of trash throughout, space or whatnot. That the same is true for a viewer, right? If a person walks away with a now what you've described as a confirmation bias, with an opinion that they formed based off the video that they saw, and they don't get to see the follow-up, they get to go ping pong that on Reddit. They get to go ping pong that in the comment section of another video. They get to go ping pong that in the Twitch viewers. And then that spreads to other people. So to a degree, that is why there are libel, slander, and defamation laws that exist, because you cannot control what those things are. Now, Narc made some very definitive statements that are inaccurate and false. And I would be well within my rights to act upon that in a very legal manner. But I can't do that, obviously, right? That's not to my benefit. It's not what I want to do anyways, even though it defames and hurts me, and I can't control what that bias is. And now I'm forced to roll around in the mud, right, about the project, which is taking away from really what the focus should be. It's the focus
on a project. Yeah, no. I get what you're saying. So like, how do you feel about like the way that Narc feels about the communication? Because I think that there's been a lot of people that have felt.
Look, if Narc had made a video that said, "Hey, I think you should have communicated this better, and I think you should have communicated that better." 100%. That's the whole fucking point of us being open about the transparent in the first, the process of development in the first place. Like that constructive criticism, not going on his stream and calling people who support the game autists and retards and banning them and just acting like a complete degenerate, right? And because, and again, I'm not trying to make any ill will towards Narc.
Sure.
Like, yes, I'm super pissed about the fact that he went and made a video that was completely defamatory. But the reality of the matter is that we never engaged with Narc from a company's perspective as a content creator. Why? Because his brand was not the brand that we wanted to engage with about the game. Now, of course, that's a big conflict for us because he was creating content about the game, and some of those videos and content were great, but some of them were not. And some of them did not match what we wanted our brand to be. And I got a lot of flack internally from my own marketing and community team when I would even talk and engage with Narc because they're saying, "Hey man, like this guy is not a good dude." And I would say, "Okay,
I mean, this is just marketing and PR people are always 100%. They are so careful. I'm fully aware of that. And I think that makes sense, right? That's their job.
I wonder what Starforge's marketing and PR team tell Asmon. that's got to be a conversation. I do wonder, because I'm sure he has PR people and marketing people for Starforge in his company. Could you imagine the conversations they probably have on? I don't know how often he has to like talk to them, but that's got to be very interesting.
But
he's not a part of Starforge. I mean, he's definitely a part owner of Starforge. He probably just is not like the face of Starforge or whatever. But
you talk about banning, right? And so there were a lot of criticism. This actually wasn't really even discussed in like the conversation.
The Reddit.
People getting banned on Reddit for
that's so false. Like that's another thing that was absolutely crazy. So let me tell you.
So people aren't getting banned.
Well. Like here, listen. So you know this very well. Narc was in his stream. Narc was in a stream for 4 days straight, playing at the beginning of phase 2. He was running a subathon.
Yeah.
And in the subathon, it was a total hate fest, right? And he had a pretty solid 300 viewers. Anybody who was watching can corroborate this. This is true. And those viewers were all just kind of hate baiting each other. Yeah. And they would go on the Reddit and they would make,
which honestly sounds fun. I could definitely see myself participating in something like that, like just hating on a game just for fun. Because be honest, chat. You've been part of streams where you just go in there and just hate along with everyone else. And you go inside, even if you don't necessarily hate, everyone's hating, so you're hating. It's like, you get a kick out of it. You're part of the Twitch, echo chamber. It's a good time.
Statements with their Reddit, and they would say things like, this game is 100% scam. What they're doing is fake. This isn't real.
Literally my stream, get out of here. We never hate bait.
They should be shut down, all these types of things, right? And so over the course of December, there were probably 7 people that got banned. And the only reason they got banned is because they violated our respect each other rule. There was one thread that got locked out of 10 different threads that were about Narc. One
that
got
was
locked
the desert
because it was
one,
just
right?
a hate fest. There were 7 desert threads.
Okay.
You can go on our Reddit and look at the 7 different desert
And why
threads.
do you think there were so many desert threads? Because it feels to me like that's a really big point of contention.
Well, they were
all
the majority of them. I don't want to say necessarily all.
Yeah,
the majority of them, in my opinion, were from Narc's stream. Because again,
I'm going to continue, but just a sidestep. I love people who choose their words carefully. Like he said, they were all, and then he walked back and said the majority. That's what Narc needs to do better. Choose your words better, because then you can actually get your point across properly without having to have the viewer actually try to guess what you mean by all, or by scam, or by none, or by...
Again, he was running a 4-day long stream, and the desert was a big point of topic for him. Now, I don't know if that was a result of him being upset about having to shave his beard, because the desert... I don't.
This whole time I've been watching 720p, because I just realized it's a little bit blurry. I could have been doing 1080p. Bro, I hate YouTube. I hate YouTube. Why does YouTube do this, bro? Why did they lower my recommend? Okay, it looks just as trash. Never mind. YouTube knows what's best for me. It looks just as bad. Never mind.
I don't know what might have exacerbated
it's
that
just as blurry.
Aspect, but
it didn't make a difference.
That is what I
Never
think
mind.
caused it. But I have been a mod of that Reddit because it's our official subreddit of the Ashes of Creation game. It was handed to me because the person who made it back in 2016 didn't want to be the owner of it anymore. So after 5 months, he said, "Here, this is your subreddit now." And I said, "Okay, we'll make it the official subreddit. We'll engage. We'll talk to the community here. We'll make sure to enforce some decorum as well."
So you're saying that if a person goes and they make a post on Reddit right now that isn't insulting or saying it's a scam or everybody's lying, and they have a constructive post about Ashes of Creation on the subreddit, that they're not going to get banned for it, even if it's completely negative?
Any one of your 40,000 viewers right now can go on our subreddit and they can look through the history and see just how many constructive, critical posts there are about Ashes of Creation.
Okay.
I would even say that a healthy, probably half of that subreddit is reasons why a game design is bad, or reason why a system should be changed, or reason why the communication isn't good. I don't ban people at all. Our Discord is the same way. I have people constantly that'll ping me with feedback that's like, "Hey man, this is a terrible..."
Not true. I got banned on Discord for an hour because there was a showcase and I got very excited and I had my caps lock key on and I typed 3 messages like, "Oh my god, enter, oh my god, enter, it's happening, enter, banned." Because the bot warned me about using caps lock for all 3 messages, but I typed too fast and I got a 1-hour ban and I did nothing wrong. No, not deserved, chat. Everyone was spamming, chat. No. Listen, I was excited, okay? I got banned for typing 3 sentences in a row in caps lock for 1 hour. Deserved? You got 3. Guys, 3 warnings within less than a second. I wrote 3 sentences in like 1 second. I couldn't see the warnings. There was not enough time to get the warnings. So not true. I've been banned unfairly on Discord, okay? Unfairly.
Terrible design. You shouldn't do this. The game's going to fail because of this. I don't ever respond to that in a negative way. That's the whole purpose of this development, is to garner that level of interaction with the community. That is what we have done for 8 straight years. It is a completely false narrative for anyone to say that.
Well, if I look at it and I look at the subreddit, it does seem like there's a lot of critical comments that are made, and these comments are not being deleted. So
no, of course not. Like, well, first of all, you can go on to there are a number of different websites that you can go onto, and you can see if there are any deleted comments. Like that. I mean, that is just a factual truth.
Okay. Well, that's
Discord
at
mods
least good
hate
to
bald
know.
guys.
I'm
not true, because they like Asmongold. Although then again, they hate Narc. So it's 50-50. It's still out there.
thinking about some of the other components of this too. And so if you're talking about like,
here's,
go ahead.
Here's the other thing, Asmon.
Yeah.
It's like when you put these things into perspective, and your audience is a very I consider myself a member of your audience.
Thank you.
I enjoy your takes. I love watching you. We have a lot of people in the studio that are Asmongold fans. I mean, that's why I invited you to the Asmongold Guild when you joined Alpha One.
Well, I remember that very well.
But what I will say is that, like, if you put these points into context, look, I don't know what's going on with Narc. I don't know, why he's come to these conclusions that he has. I have assumptions. My assumptions are it's because, this is the reason of him wanting to farm views and engagement or whatever, and then maybe he'll do a redemption arc later, and that's like his master plan. I have a lot of different commentaries, but it is what it is. I don't really care. Only thing I care about is that when someone makes false and defamatory statements and it gets 100,000 plus views, and then it gets 500,000 plus views, and it demeans the character of myself or the 230 plus families that I care that are putting their hearts and souls into this game, of which I put over $55 million of my own money into the development of this game. Yeah. There has never been a dime or profit that's been taken from this company in 8 years. When someone says that, it is utter, and pardon my French,
it's gonna piss you off. It's bullshit.
It's complete fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
Total bullshit.
Well, all right, I'm gonna ask you. Like, I don't know if you can really give me the answer for this. Like, 55 million. There's no way you can make an MMO with $55 million. Like, how much money do you think it's gonna take to make the game?
At least another 50 minimum. At least another 50 I'll be on the hook for. Minimum. And by the way, we've grown to 230 developers.
Yeah.
That's not 230 developers in the middle of Croatia.
Yeah.
That's 230 developers in the middle of San Diego, California, which is the most expensive part of the United States.
Yeah, it's like what is it like?
And I'll tell you another thing.
Go ahead.
I'll tell you another thing. I take care of my developers.
Yeah.
We give 100% health insurance for our developers, their spouses, and all of their children as well.
Yep.
And that's on a game that's not making profit.
Right.
So for someone to demean my character like this and to drag me through the mud this way is absolutely out of character and wrong. Okay. It is just wrong.
No, I understand that. I mean, what do you think about like the 6 years of the game?
To be fair, Croatia's not that cheap of a country. Croatia's a pretty nice country. I think that was not the best example.
Game being an alpha, because he said he did the math on it.
I think I said this at the start of this development.
Yeah.
I said that we are going to make this game in a way that we feel is right. A lot of games come out and they get worked on in the dark. How long did Throne and Liberty take to develop? 12 years.
You mean Lineage?
And Lineage 3,
yeah, exactly.
12 years. And by the way, this is no hate against NCSoft or their game. I think they did a great job. I'm just saying it took 12 years to make, and that was from an established major MMO RPG powerhouse to build a game like that, right? And I'm not trying to judge whether or not Throne and Liberty was good or whatever. I don't, it is what it is.
But it takes a long time to make a game. Opinion. Yeah.
But But it takes a long time to make a game, and it takes a real fucking long time to make an MMORPG, and multiply that by 10 when you're trying to do the level of complexity and systems that we are trying to do, which is fucking crazy.
No, so do you don't have like a time frame or anything for how?
Yeah, I think this was a really good PR move for Steven overall, just like humanizing himself a little bit, because it is a fact that a lot of people who are into gaming, especially Twitch viewers and YouTube viewers, they're not fans of corporate, because corporate has screwed them in the ass so many times. How many companies have promised stuff and then you just screw them hard? So just humanizing himself a little bit, it's like, hey, you know, even though this guy is a rich multimillionaire and he is the head of the company and the CEO and whatever, he's still a dude like us. I think it's a good move. I like it.
How long the alpha is going to last?
Do you know if I told you a time frame today and that time frame changed?
Uh-huh.
What would happen? What would happen? I would be flailed alive
you'd be
again.
lying again. Yeah.
Exactly. I'd be a liar.
Yep. Okay.
I would be a liar.
So you don't want to get a time frame, because then you're going to get nailed down for another video about you lying in the future. No, I think that's fair.
The other thing is, like, how can I give a time frame when we just started our alpha 2?
Yeah.
The whole point of this fucking alpha is to test everything. Right? And before we go into full onslaught production of these core systems, we need to test that, 1, they work, 2, players want them, and 3, whatever we need to do to make those systems work differently, we have time to do that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole point of alpha 2. So, like, again, if you aren't interested in the development process of an MMORPG, my whole recommendation is chill, don't follow us, check in a year, in 2 years, whatever it is, get an average update every now and then. But the reason I told Narc, like, and anyone else who was getting their tits in a twist, or excuse me,
it is what it is. Yeah, no, true. Yeah, for sure.
Who were getting their boxers in a bunch because of the development process.
Yeah.
Go take a break. Take a break for your own mental. Let me tell you, developing this game has not been great for my mental health.
Yeah.
It sure is. I would not wish this level of engagement with the community, this level of complexity in the game development. I mean, you got to understand, I started this also 8 years ago without having any experience in development whatsoever, just being a lover of MMOs and wanting to make something that I like. Right? So, like, I had to run through the crucible on fire, with my head on fire.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
I understand.
And my recommendation is take a break.
Yeah.
Go take a break for your own mental health. That wasn't any dig on his mental health. I don't personally care about Narc too much to care what his mental health status is. I'm just suggesting to anyone that is too emotionally invested in our development process, go take a break. We will be here when you get back. This project is too large. I have put too much of an investment. I care too much, and so does our team, about its success for it to fail. And so because of that, we are going to do what's necessary, no matter the time it takes. Now, ultimately, I don't want to be in a 10, 12, 14-year-long development cycle. But another thing to keep in mind is that when people say, hey, it's been 8 years, that first year we were 12 people.
Yeah, sure.
We were 12 people. We were 25 people the next year. And then we were 40 people the year after that. We didn't start this development with 500 people on the side. I don't have $700 million that I've collected from crowdsourcing like Star Citizen. And again, it's no heat against Star Citizen. You know, it is what it is. I'm just saying, like, this is a project built of passion. And by the way, Ashes isn't going to be for everybody. We are a PvX game. Probably half the market doesn't want PvP in their game. Half of the market share of MMORPG players probably do not want our flagging system. But I understand that. And there's space in the market share for a game like us, even if half of the people don't like our visuals, don't like our art, don't want our, mechanics. Okay, do we want to gatekeep the other half of the market share that do want that?
Yeah.
Is it, if you don't like it, does it mean it shouldn't be made? Does it mean it's a scam? Does it mean that you should demean the character of the people who are putting their blood, lives, sweat, and tears into the project and make false statements that you yourself can be liable for like that, Narc? No.
So
if you want to walk away, if that's truly your intent, then by all means, walk away. Don't drag us through the mud in an effort to get views and misrepresent the game when you do it. Like, come off of it.
So we could go back to this old desert situation, right? About it being an expansion to the desert. Now, whenever you were talking about the expansion to the desert that was going to happen on December 20th, what is that? What?
That's the nodes. That's the node.
Okay.
So these three locations, you see this node that says Athenar, Sunhaven, and Asmara. Like those were nodes that didn't exist before the 20th.
Okay, so those all got added.
Now
Did they not exist? I mean, there was an area there. I guess they weren't developed nodes. Yeah, I guess that's right. That's true. The map existed. Yeah. It just wasn't like a fully functioning node, right? It was a lawless area. Yeah.
And can
they have
can you go to one of those? Like, because I think you went to one of them. But yeah, okay.
Hold on 1 second.
And how many people, by the way, are on the server? Like, do you have any idea of like how many people there are?
We have over 110,000. I think it's like 112,000 people now that are participating in Alpha 2. And on our record for a server was 7,400, I think, on December 20th. We had 7,400 people on one realm, which, by the way, for an Unreal Engine 5 game is... I don't know of any other UE5 games that have released that have been able to achieve that number. So if anybody else knows that,
that's a lot of people for an area that small.
I don't think so. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
Also, keep in mind, like, a lot of them would be very much in the same area because you can't really spread out that fast, that quickly. I mean, obviously, it was going to be a lag fiesta, right?
So this is the Sunhaven node.
Okay.
Right? And this
is one of, and this was added in the December. Okay, so this is
correct.
So to say that like there was nothing that was added, this was added.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, there were 3 nodes that were.
And there's 2 more of them besides this.
Now, to be fair, that is a absolute copy paste of the nodes in the Riverlands, but again, that's fine because they're first of all. They're going to change it. Like, they're going to add more stuff as the alpha goes along.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. And they were encampments before this, and they were crossroads before that. So anybody that played it, they can come and they can see this. There's building sections here that a mayor can construct.
Is one of them called Asmarin? Because I think that's where a Narc was in the video.
Asmarin?
Yeah. Can you go to that? Because like again, it's just about like this thing about it being on the edge of the map. To me, this might sound like some kind of like weird fixation, but like to me that matters a lot because it's like, was it or wasn't it?
Yeah, that's fine. The other key takeaway is that like, whoops, I got stuck under the ground.
Yep.
Nobody look. You're not supposed to teleport. Hold on. There we go. This is Asmarin. Let's see, where would the edge be? So already you can see that Asmarin is kind of near the edge.
Okay.
Right? This is Asmarin.
Okay, and so it's at the edge down there at the bottom. Yeah, if I look at his map, it just, like, I don't know. I mean, I could, like...
This is the edge. This is Asmarin, and then this is the edge right here.
Okay.
You can't go further.
So if you just go... Okay, so you can't even... And this is the case all around the map, right? Like, this is like, if you go...
You can see the map edge is here.
So
you can't go further than that.
Okay, so this. Okay.
See, I'm trying to like it won't let me.
Okay. So
and that's where Asmarin is. But again, the key point isn't so much whether or not he was at the edge. That's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe he was 100 meters off of the edge. I don't know. But regardless, the point is he showed side-by-side comparisons of our showcase from 2 years ago, and he said none of this is in the game. That is what he said.
Yeah.
He said none of this is in the game, and that's bullshit. I just released a video that showed all
what you're looking
those
at right now. This is it. This was added into the game on December 20th.
Yes.
Okay.
This was added into the game on December 20th. Anybody who's been playing here, let me ask this dude. Here, let me just ask this guy. Hello, Mew. Hold on.
And this is in the live version of the Alpha 2 that other players can regularly see.
Yeah, absolutely.
They need better text boxes, by the way. This has bugged me in Alpha 1, and this would bug me in Alpha 2. If you look at this text box, it's very, very, like, it doesn't pop out enough. It's very hard to, like, say hi to somebody and for them to really notice that you typed. They got to be actively looking at you, paying attention. But yeah, of course it's a placeholder, I agree. I think classic... let me see here if I can just find a real quick one. Anyway, this doesn't really matter. It's nitpicking.
Absolutely. Hold on.
Let's continue.
Okay. So you're asking how long
So
we've been
I just asked him. He says since Alpha 1.
Okay.
Yes, the nodes were
Somebody
there.
else saying they were there. Yeah. May I ask a question? All right. Were these nodes present in phase 1? He says no.
There you go.
All right. Well, he's gonna have to check his PayPal,
Hold
right?
on. Let's give him a hat. Let's give him a hat. We need to give him a hat.
Okay.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Boom. We just gave him a Santa hat.
Great. Good for him.
Hold on. Let's ask him if he can put the Santa hat on real quick.
Okay, chat. It's obvious he got paid by a Santa hat. If anybody here is playing old school RuneScape, that stuff just appreciates in value over time. So this is a paid actor.
Look at him dancing. I guess I'm big dog.
So, and also, like, there's going to be more stuff, I'm sure, added to the desert as time goes on, right? I mean, it's not like it.
I mean, what kind of a question is that? As when you know that? Come on, like,
yeah. Well,
we're building the game.
Well, it's just, well, yeah, but like, I'm leading it because, like, that's like these are what the. So. And also, like, there's going to be more stuff, I'm sure, added to the desert as time goes on, right? I mean, it's not like it.
I mean, what kind of a question is that? As when you know that? Come on, like,
yeah. Well,
we're building the game.
Well, it's just, well, yeah, but like, I'm leading it because, like, that's like these are what the concerns are, right? And
yeah, that's true.
And so, like, that's really, I'm not really like obvious, like. Let's be real. Fucking obviously, it's not like you're gonna have a bunch of random mobs out there doing nothing, right? 100%.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
okay.
This is a mayor. Oh, come on! Why didn't this dude put his hat on?
Yeah. Maybe he doesn't know how.
Maybe he just doesn't know he received that kind of hat. Like, he has to have his inventory open to see it.
Oh man. Yes, absolutely. Okay. I mean, that is the whole point of. Oh, look, he did. He put his hat on.
There
so
it is.
That's a Santa hat. Boom.
That's nice.
Thank you. Thanks, brother. Appreciate that, Mew.
About a week late, but it's okay.
It's pretty cool.
For real.
So that's going on. You've got all of the so this is the desert. They did add new stuff into the second phase with these 3 nodes and the desert being expanded, and with like the dungeon and all of that, I'm sure that'll probably get added into the future too. I feel like
which dungeon? Which dungeon?
I'm gonna be honest. I think I'll never get to talk to Steven ever. I think he might dislike me because I ruined one of his events. I don't know if you guys like. This is a bit of a side topic as well, but it was worth it though. Trust me, chat. It was very much worth it. Let me see if I can. I'll show you right now, so you can see. Steven was doing an event here, and me and Crix were like, "Yeah, you know what? Let's just wipe everyone from Pirate Software." Vines. Now they can't run, chat. Oh, look at the HP, so bro. Good. They can't run. Moldivius. Right I rooted all of them. Crix throw out the lightning ball. They're all rooted. They can't fight. The only problem is
straight into
Rain of Arrows. The only problem is once I shot this out, bro, they never stood a chance. They never stood a chance. It's true. Oh my corruption. I got 4 corruption, which means now I do no DPS. I got insta 4 corruption. Instant full corruption. Yeah. Everyone's so now dropping. My DPS is low. But we wiped like literally almost the entire Pirate X raid over here. It was a good time. And you can see, while we're doing it, Steven's like, well done, everyone. Like, Steven was there floating, giving a victory speech for a well done, but we weren't quite behaving. So I think he's like, yeah, that grappler guy, he doesn't follow directions. we're probably not doing content with him in the future. So we might have lost our privileges as a safe streamer to work with. But I'm gonna be honest, Chad. It was worth it, 100%. Wiping out Pirate Raid, yes, absolutely worth. Rechat. He has still not seen Steven is watching. Oh no, I haven't. Is he in here? Did I miss it? Steven Sharif, not true brother. Oh, I see. Steven, let me interview you one of these days. I tried contacting your mods on Discord. They don't answer me. Make it happen. Dude, on a side note, when I went in February to LA, because I'm in Brazil, I was so sad I didn't have report with Intrepid, because I literally went to LA and I would have loved to have done an IRL thing, but like, I thought to myself, if I contact Intrepid's like, hey, can I do an IRL interview with you guys? They're like, who the hell are you? So I didn't bother. Saddest day of my life. Yeah, Steven is here. That's pretty cool. All right, let's keep watching.
The one that had that, I forgot the term that you used for it.
The Najash dungeon.
Yes, in the Josh dungeon.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. So we just added the Befallen Forge dungeon in, which is like
too much drama llama at the moment. Maybe phase 3. Sounds awesome, man. Hey, and thank you so much for the great game. I'm a big fan.
a bunch of undead.
I've been here for like
that are
years
governed by a
the
Dracolich, basically.
Yeah.
This is. Hold on one second. Let me do this real quick here. This is the Befallen Forge dungeon. Which just got added in December 20th as well. There's a little party here that's probably trying to do things.
So it's an
Dude, this dungeon looks so cool. Reminds me super of like Molten Core in World of Warcraft Classic, especially when you get like to the lava parts. But we're not going to be playing this until we get Rogue out. So I think I heard somebody tell me next month they're probably going to have Rogue. So come February, we got to speed level to 25, and once we hit 25 speed leveling on Rogue, we can do the dungeon then. So yeah, we're not going to play this until maybe February. If it's out by then, I don't know.
No, this is an indoor dungeon.
So I mean, a non-instanced.
Oh yeah, no, not.
Interview Steven phase 3.
The vast majority
I wish.
of all of our
I
content
hope,
in
maybe.
game is open world. Like
Okay.
the whole point of a PVX, game that we're trying to build is contested, zones and whatnot. So that there are
like Black
good
Desert
spots
or whatever. I get it.
There are good spots to XP. There's rare drops or whatever. Like, look at this dude.
Yeah.
That are available. There's another group.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of down here. There's a little puzzle down here that you can succeed at to get to cross. But yeah, it's all open world. And in the dungeon you're talking about, the Najash dungeon that has that Essence Geyser, the Essence Geyser.
Dude, doesn't this remind you of Molten Core, chat?
The Essence.
Like, damn it, how do I back up here a little bit?
Kind of down here. There's a little puzzle down here that you can succeed
like
at.
These little like
to get to
falling lavas and stuff.
But yeah, it's all open world. And in the dungeon you're talking about, the Najash dungeon that has that Essence Geyser.
This stuff, I think this is so cool, dude. I'm a huge fan of like dripping lava. I see this in Minecraft and World of Warcraft, anywhere. I think this is my kind of dungeon. Like, this rubs all the right spots. The dwarf aesthetic, yeah. We're rolling Dwarven Rogue, by the way, come February. If we can go Rogue February. It doesn't damage people who get under it. Okay, the game's dead on arrival. The game... Okay, that has to be temporary. If it doesn't damage you if you get under it, it's dead on arrival. The game's dead. The game is trash.
Essence Geyser asset is complete, but
that's got to be temporary.
Asset kit that's used to actually build the interior of that dungeon is obviously something that.
Bro, Steven is here.
On.
Okay.
I didn't mean that, Steven.
The Najash monsters and whatnot have been worked on, and those models we've shown, and that's the whole point of our development update.
It's really cool.
Every single
it really
month,
is.
Right? The whole part of us showing all of these assets getting created, all of the world being built and the monsters being constructed. Like, that's, oh god, I'm gonna die. Hold on. The whole point of that is so that we can get player feedback before we move into mass production, which is an alien idea for many people, for many developers, for many publishers, because of course you can run into situations like the one we're currently in, which is where, hey, a lot of people who are witnessing the game that are very, we have millions of registered users that are interested in Ash.
It's okay that lava actually kills you. Oh, okay. All right. We're saved. Chat, game is saved, chat.
Of creation, because for 8 years we've been very public about its development, which is a good thing. That's the good side of the sword, is that we don't have to spend any money on advertising. We don't have to spend any money on marketing. There is a cost that comes with us needing to each month kind of prepare something to be shown to the public. That's why we have a community team. That's why we have Margaret, who heads up that team, right, in the communications team. And a lot of development teams don't like having to kind of,
that's a good idea. I'm going to be
essentially having that exposure
to do regular updates
undone.
Because there's also like there's a degree of accountability with it. No,
absolutely. And the biggest concern is that all
right, Steven, now you can spam as much as you want and you're not going to get spam filtered.
Something changes and the community puts you on a flail for it.
Yeah, of course.
Right, where it's like, oh, you promised this and now it's not a thing anymore. Well, the whole gambit, the whole gamble of this approach is that we can be open about the changes and we can foster some degree of understanding from our community when those changes happen for the game.
The only problem I had with like the promise things and then change them, because like obviously the game is in open development and things are going to change. Some things are going to be different. Only one I had problems with was like crossbows, because I think they sold skins for crossbows back in the day. And people who bought those skins, now they're saying they're not going to be crossbows as weapons. So they might feel like, well, I spent money for crossbow skins, now I can't have them. I think they refunded people for that, or they're going to give like, I don't know what their solution was. That's like the only niche time I can think of when things changing was a big deal. So other than that, I think changes should happen. I think it's important to not be super rigid on your plans. If you have plans for something and you find out for whatever reason it doesn't work, you should absolutely go in a different direction. I mean, I think a lot of game studios, they're too rigid, and they maybe due to bureaucracy or maybe ego, they don't want to change something even if they're realizing it's not a good idea. But yeah, other than that like niche idea, things should change if they're not working properly or if it doesn't feel good.
Isn't that what we want to see, rather than getting something we had no idea about on day one, hating it, and then the game fails, and now boom, that game is gone.
Yeah.
Like they can't go back and they can't fix it, right? Because they've already put $300 million into creating what it was.
Yeah.
And for them to go back and fix it, it's going to cost another $100 million or another $150 million in order to do it.
Right.
So like to that degree, you're mitigating risk.
Yeah, like for example, if they said we're not going to have freeholds anymore because they don't work, that'd be a massive problem, because a lot of people bought supporter packs for freehold cosmetics, right? Like that would be an issue.
On the side of the open development in exchange for the risk of landing something that people didn't ask for or don't want, right? Well, in my opinion, it's worth this risk that is now being realized in the communications department. That's a problem, right? And instead, what we're mitigating is the risk that we land on day one without an audience that gives a fuck to play the game.
Yeah, sure. Of course, right? Because like that, at that point, it's like you're going to have people that, like, if you develop in the wrong direction, you go too far in that direction, you can't change course, and like then you're kind of stuck there.
Correct.
Like I've seen a lot of games that have ended up being in that position.
That's absolutely right. And let me tell you another big thing. One other thing that is really sets my bullshit radar off.
Okay.
He says, that he doesn't agree with the pricing.
That was the big thing I wanted to talk about. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And that's totally fine. Like, this is specifically priced in part.
I don't know, dude. Like, regardless of what Steven says, regardless of what his reasoning for pricing is, I think any price is okay. If Steven said it's $50,000 to play the alpha, if people buy it, that's their problem. I've never cared about pricing. Maybe that's a bit of a hot take, and well, maybe pricing is predatory. I find all that to be bullshit. I think you should price things as you want, and at the end of the day, if people buy, awesome. If people don't buy, then lower the price. So pricing, I've never had issues with. I'll never blame the seller if the consumer is buying something for a price. It's different if you lie about what you're selling, right? But that's never been the case with Ashes, so.
To restrict the number of people who are participating in this alpha, because it's not for everybody. In addition, we have to pay for servers to host at a minimum 1 year's worth of time that our alpha is going to be live. And that $100 goes to pay for that 1 year's worth of what would normally be a subscription.
Sure.
1 year's worth of what must normally be a subscription.
I mean, I did a video on whether Ashes was worth the buy-in price. And my takeaway was basically cut down. If you plan to spend any significant time playing the alphas, it's absolutely worth it. Because you're getting probably 2 years plus of alphas and betas, and that's like at a minimum. We're talking years of free gameplay time with 0 sub fees. So at the minimum, a year or two of free game time. So it just comes down to whether you think you'll spend a significant amount of time playing. For me, it's worth it, right? Now, if you don't know whether you're going to play more than 5 hours, it's probably not worth buying in for you. So it's for those people who know they're going to spend a lot of time playing or testing the game or putting on, even if it's 20 hours for every single phase just to feel it out. That's fine.
So how much, what does that come out to? And then on top of that, we're giving 1 month subscription with it, and we're also giving access to all the betas. So I get it. People don't want to pay that money. That's fine. We literally tell people, do not buy the alpha. This is not a game. This is not for you. You will lose nothing by not participating in our alpha.
True.
The game will launch and you cannot pay a box price for it. We don't even have a box price, which is, in my opinion, the best monetization model.
Well, that's the biggest injection. Yeah, of course.
Correct. So anybody that goes out there and says this is a scam, I am telling you that this game that I've sunk $55 million or more into over the course of the last 8 years, myself personally.
This would be like the worst scam in history if it was a scam. The profit margins for this scam are so low. If this game was a scam, they should have gotten out after the Kickstarter, dude. They're going way too deep. But yeah, it's silly to call it a scam per se.
Personally, so far, and we'll have to put in another 50 probably.
Yeah.
That you should not buy the game, and we have a 90-day refund policy on these $100 alpha keys.
Yeah.
And
wait, they have a refund policy for alpha keys? I didn't know that.
We do not have a minimum time requirement if people want a refund. If you want a refund and you go in and you play this and you play our alpha and you test our alpha and you test it for 10 hours, 15 hours, we are granting those refunds. Because we don't want people to be upset about that. So it is total fucking bullshit that the way he represented us and the game
way over the
in
time
his
limit.
Video. And again, I don't want to pick on Narc. Okay, dude, go play another game. Go enjoy your content creator career.
Yeah.
Go play Dark Souls. Do you? This is your life, brother. You go do you. But you lit a match, and you threw it behind you, and you said, fuck you, Steven, fuck you, Ashes, and fuck you, developers. And that's fucked up.
Well, there it is. Well, I feel like there's a lot of development teams that feel that way, and just from my own personal opinion, I wish...
This is all manipulation? I mean, is it... Okay, first of all, every conversation ever is manipulation. You're trying to get people to agree with you, but... I haven't heard anything that's not true. I haven't heard any lie at all. Have you?
That more development teams would communicate honestly, rather
Don't feed
than
the troll.
Go through 8 layers of PR bullshit, because it's you don't really know what somebody's thinking. You're not having an honest conversation. It's a bunch of fakery. For sure. No, I do really appreciate you coming on and talking about it and everything. I really do. And, I'm sure it puts you in a weird position, especially with the people in your team, etc. But
I don't want to be in this position.
Yeah,
this is not why this is not why I've devoted 8 years of my life to building this game. I don't want to be here talking about drama. I don't like drama. You don't like drama. I don't like drama. The community probably loves the drama.
I don't know about that. I think Asmon's a big drama fan, actually. Yeah, he knows.
But I do not. I'm sure it's entertaining, but it's not why we're doing what we're doing. I get it. I get it's entertaining. I get that it sells. And I know that it's some level of exposure, but I just want to make a great game.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want to do. Oh, there's one other thing.
Yeah.
That was in our video here. Hold on.
Yeah, no, if there's anything else you
my-
want to cover, like I'm ready to see it or hear it or whatever.
I just got a message that was like, "Hey, you should show the snail,"
Okay.
because that was in the desert video.
Yeah,
too.
it was.
Oh no. No. This will break the whole narrative. Narc said everything here was a lie. Wait. Everything, chat. Where's the snail? Oh no, this will break everything. Why can't I find it? Doesn't matter. Because if the snail is real, that means we've been lied to.
This is our snail.
That's the mount, right? The blue one?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's a very rare snail.
Okay.
Its name is a wisp whelk, and you can walk
Moment of
around the
truth.
wisp whelk. I'm going a little fast.
Okay, so this is the one exactly from the video.
It's real, chat. It's all real. It's all real, chat. The snail is real. But wait. Let's be intellectually honest here, okay? Wait a second. Narc equals narcissist. Yeah, true. You can't write narcissist without narc. Okay, that's a little okay. Anyway, guys. To be fair, this conversation with Narc lasted over an hour. Technically speaking, Steven could have stopped everything at Intrepid and told him to build a snail mount during this conversation as a gotcha. This entire time, listen, the snail was shown around the one hour point. We're currently almost 3 hours in. Technically speaking, Steven could have stopped production and said, everyone get to work on the snail, right? Why didn't he bring it up at the 2 hour mark? Why did he wait all the way until the 3 hour mark to prove his point, you know? This is the first proof we see of real snails. This is the first proof we see that the desert area is real. 250 workers can definitely put together a snail in 3 hours. Huh? How about that? You know, I don't know, chat. I don't know what you believe, but I'm starting to get some doubts. You know, I'm not easily fooled. Holiday leave? Wait, holiday's over, chat. We're December 6th.
Yeah.
Yep. And not only that, the snail, the little horse snail, we call it a snorse, right? It still has some textures that need to be added. It's missing some mats that I think, unfortunately, got stomped when we did a master material update on the saddle. But you can take the snail and you can press period here, and it'll turn into a little snail.
Oh shit! Okay. So it's like a mount, like special.
And then you can just no! Oh, I killed the fucking snail. God damn it.
Oh wow! So it has
Bro,
like
that's
two
so
different movement
badass.
types.
Oh, okay. That's badass and all, but like, why would you ever do that? Is that like RP walk option? Like, you become a snail to walk slower?
Yeah, it has two different movement types.
Outside.
What if you can use that to climb up walls? Bro. Okay, if this is a rare snail, you do that and you can climb walls using the... That's so sick. That would be badass. Because you already have flying mounts, right? It wouldn't be that big of a deal if the snail was rare. You could slime up a wall, up a slope, right?
Sorry, that
That
guy
would be
attacking
cool.
you.
Yeah, that's sad.
Okay. Well, yeah. That. No, that's cool.
There's one other thing, by the way. Pirate Software Thor. He's been playing the game a lot. I know that he's a big proponent of it. We definitely have a lot of systems that are mirrored off of the way that Eve's economy and like Zero Sec Space and stuff have been architected. We have a lawless zone. We have we have a territory in the open seas that are.
Oh, I agree. I think flying mounts are a bad idea. I mean, I'm not a fan of flying mounts. I think gliding mounts are a much better option, but that's besides the point. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I complained about it a little bit, but I don't think it's a big deal because technically speaking, once the game launches, there will be very, very few flying mounts per server. So, I'm not a fan. I think it's bad, but I can live with it, right? I've said this many times. If there's something in the game you don't like, that's still okay. No one is gonna like everything about, like, out of the entire player base, There's only one person who will like everything about the game. That's Steven, because it's his game. He will be the only person who likes every aspect of the game. For the rest of us, we just gotta like enough of the game to play it, right? So even though there's a few things I disagree with, it's not my game. And the flying mount I can live with. It's not that big of a deal.
And, you know, a lot of the things that Narc said about Pirate are just totally unfair and demeaning as well. And I think that it's important.
What did Narc say about Pirate? Because I watched the interview. I think the only thing he said was that he disagreed with Pirate because Pirate's all about EVE Online. What did Narc say about Pirate software?
The biggest takeaway that I have when it comes to these types of interactions is that we're all part of the same ecosystem and genre of player groups.
Yeah.
We have all I went on your show back in 2020 when I was driving to Vegas, and I made the statement that as an MMO player, we all feel like a bunch of beaten dogs.
Oh, yeah, I remember this. Yeah.
And that is still to this day very true, and we all know this because of some of the games that have recently released. But what I will say is that there is some level of camaraderie that should be had within our community as MMORPG gamers, because the only way that we're going to get games that answer the calls of things that we want, which is not gotcha quality of life bullshit monetization, which is not pay to win, which is not undermining the player achievement in game and integrity, like those are the core tenets that I think are most important when it comes to actually bringing in an MMORPG to today's.
Well, you got to be a little bit careful, because the reason there is not that camaraderie within the MMORPG space is because players have been burned so many times. Chat, do you guys remember when Arcade said, hey, we're going to relaunch Arcade, it's not going to be pay to win this time, then maybe pay to win? And they're like, well, we're going to relaunch it again. This time it really won't be pay to win. It was pay to win. And then how many relaunches did Arcade have, each one promising no pay to win? And they just shuffled their player base and screwed them every single time. Right? So it's very easy in MMOs not to trust the developers, because there are so many companies that have just betrayed that trust over and over again. And it's not just Arcade, it's a lot of different development companies that just promise one thing and just screw you the moment they can make a profit off of it. It's not easy to ask for camaraderie, because people are not going to freely give it after they've been burned once or twice.
Market that I think a lot of developments and a lot of publishers are still getting wrong.
Oh yeah, of course.
And we can be supportive of each other. The tribalism doesn't need to exist. A game doesn't need to call to you aesthetically, visually, or mechanically in order for you to say, hey, I wish that game does well.
Yeah,
I wish that game finds an audience.
I think a lot of people, the reason why I think a lot of people do it is that and this is especially true with gacha games, is like they're terrified of their gacha game going end of service and like all of their waifus going into the void, right? Yep. And like it's the same thing with MMOs, where it's like, well, I don't want to have this game die because this item that I spent 1,000 hours farming isn't going to matter anymore. I think that's the real reason why you see a lot of the tribalism. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yes. No, I mean, you're 100% correct. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to speak to the better part of humanity, which is different than that. Hey, look, you may have a sunk cost, but in order for that sunk cost to feel better, there can be something else on the horizon for you to move to. And those things will be less if you shit on them.
Yeah, but people don't want to move on. Like, people want to survive in their game for as long as possible. If you're successful in an MMORPG and you're the big dude, like everyone respects you. If you can do anything even to delay your game's death by a week, you're going to do it, because again, that's where you get your self-satisfaction from, your video game.
Sure.
Like there will be less.
If shitting on ashes slightly increases the chance that your game lives longer, people do it because, well, again, they only have their own self-interest in mind. They want their game to succeed because they succeeded in their own game.
Opportunity if you shit on it. The reason why people say the MMORPG genre is a dying genre is in part our own culpability. We as an audience have some level of responsibility to be supportive of the people who are trying to push the bounds. And I'm not saying for people to come and support me. I will do this on my own. Okay, that is okay. You can watch, and when the game comes out, if it's for you, please come and join us.
Yeah.
But we can still be supportive of each other, and it doesn't need to be a light a match and stroke the fire because you get some views.
No, There it is. Well, hopefully, I mean, I think that I agree with you there. I mean, I feel like that's why I wanted to have the conversation with like you and also Narc, is because I feel like at the end of the day, almost everybody really does want the same thing. And so it's like, why is there this much animosity and hostility over people that effectively agree with each other? It's very, very weird.
All right, I'm curious. Chat. Type 1 if you agree with Narc. Type 2 if you agree with Steven so far. Let's get a little bit of a... Just in chat, let me see. All right. Yeah, I agree with that. There is a few ones, but it's mostly twos. Okay, just getting the general impression.
Dynamic, right? And so I do hope that, like, you know, more honest conversations like this and everything do really kind of help people get...
I can do a poll at the end of it.
Get that better understanding.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Hey, look, it's
I
Thor.
do. Yeah.
We found Thor.
There he is. There is the guy. Oh shit.
Old Davius.
He's flying around on his little Thunderwing.
Oh, he's got a flying mount too. Oh,
he's
shit.
a mayor. He's a mayor of one of the nodes.
Yeah, there you go.
So
there you go. There you go. That's a nice mount too.
It is pretty cool. It's a sweet mount.
Well, look, man, I really appreciate you coming on and talking with it and just like giving everybody a just like straight up like no bullshit version of like what's really going on. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate your audience
Absolutely.
too.
Yep, for
Hope
sure.
you guys have a nice new year, and we'll see you at some point in the alpha. If you want to play, let me know. I'll run around with you. We can game. We can get a group together.
Okay.
Try it out, brother.
All right, man. I'll keep it in mind. I'll have to download it whenever I'm not streaming, and that way it won't DDoS me. So I'll see you later.
Later.
All right, peace. I need to use the bathroom again. Give me a minute. Yeah. So man, wow, what a day.
It's not only mayors who can have flying mounts. There's other ways to get access to flying mounts. It's just very difficult to do.
Hey, what a day. What a day, to be honest. I think that is exactly what I would say. What a day. Oh my fucking god. Rising stream. Yeah. Baited Steven to showing the entire game. Yeah, I guess so. But man, let me get... Yeah, I've been cooking. Yeah, I mean, well, the reason I wanted to get Steven on is that, like, at the end of the day, I mean, I can't really, you know, I don't make the game. Like, I'm not, like, if I say, like, yeah, this is what I think they're doing, like, people are gonna say that it's copium, but, you know, I do feel like, that pretty much explains it, right?
All right. In that case, I think that is it, chat. That's the drama. Yeah, I mean, pretty much what I was expecting. Steven got more heated than I expected, but I mean, I think justifiably so. I think it was good for Steven as well to like... I think him showing himself just to be a dude was a pretty big W. And not just a corporate guy trying to make profit. I think him showing that he's a bit frustrated is overall good for his image. I think it was a good idea for him to go and talk to Asmon.